Greetings! How the devil are we today? It seems like this podcast I have listened to approximately 12 minutes has been purposely manufactured to make me angry. I don't know how this happened. I don't know who contributed to the control of this podcast, but realistically, all of these takes are bad. Rivals versus Overwatch debate, that's what I want to see.
Okay, welcome everyone for another episode of the Group Up Podcast.
So
it has been a long time since I have said those words, but we're back once again to discuss all things gaming. Let me introduce my guests who need no introduction, brought the squad back, and then I will explain
The squad is
what we're here
here.
for with the Rivals versus Overwatch debate, not clickbait. In the
So
bottom
excited.
right, we have, coming from not Lijiang Tower, but Sam, describe your background today.
Sam's
Sammy,
back on
Listen,
Overwatch, right?
We've got what map on Rivals is? Wait, what map is
I
this?
don't think it exists anymore. Isn't
skipped
that
the
the one
intro,
that's gone?
but-
Like that's
Yeah.
the...
Rant about that, by the way, coming at some point in this video. I think you guys are going to
Yeah.
agree.
Awesome, good to have you back. In the top
So
left,
excited.
in not a dungeon anymore, released from jail, is my man Boger. Boger, what's up?
It's great, except the fact that I lost like 50 million games in rank today. It's good. I'm chill. No, I'm in a state of zen. I don't care anymore. I just don't care
Clearly.
anymore.
Yeah,
I
guy who
know,
doesn't
everything's
care.
fine.
Guy who definitely doesn't care.
No. Listen. I might be slightly upset, but I'm not obsessed. You know what I mean? I'm just voicing.
Exactly.
My
Wait, what are you
opinions
at right
here,
now? Are you below me?
It's not
That'd be
rage,
pretty-
it's
but-
slightly
Bro,
simmering hatred
Okay,
that'll
I was
bubble up
eternity
over
60
months.
points. I'm now slash with you. I'm dialed. I'm
I
dialed.
feel
I'm
so
dialed.
bad. I'm gonna play
I
a
am
fucking
dialed.
game.
So
I
who
am
here still plays the game? It's 'cause I was thinking, I was like, yeah, it's one of them, I'm sure, right?
dialed. I'm dialed.
Let's go.
I'm
Hey,
locked
that's what
in.
you gotta do. You just gotta get to your rank early on and then just don't play again for the rest of the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, I don't think Flats plays any. I don't think Boga plays that much Overwatch nowadays. Sam, I don't know what Sam's doing. I assume he's still playing a
The
bit of
only one
Overwatch.
remaining in my jail, but in the bottom left, now a dog dad since the podcast last aired. It's Flats. Flats, what's up? Viewers, you can't see
he's
this
gonna
right
yak
now.
You know, Flats is looking really healthy recently. He's got himself properly into shape. He looks great.
He's
He's still a fucking giant, but you know.
he's chewing, so you know what? I won't disturb him because he can definitely be worse.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what the nature of this discussion ends up being. So, to set the scene, guys, and I apologize if I'm rusty. It's been, I think, over a year since we did this, or somewhere in that region, like a year. So,
Time
what we're gonna
flies.
do is we're gonna try to have a very constructive discussion.
But I'm back, SVB. I'm here for you. I came back for you.
About Overwatch and Marvel Rivals together, because I mean, again, I've been out of a little bit touch with the gaming community, but anytime I see Rivals and Overwatch mentioned together, it's always some really petty shit. It's always some really like childish, somebody sharing like Twitch numbers or like Steam numbers. Basically, everybody's trying to get a one up over the other. It's all a gotcha. Like, oh, look, see, this game is failing, that game is failing.
I don't think either game are failing. 87, yeah, about the same. I would assume Overwatch is vastly beating Rivals because of the BattleNet player base, but I mean, yeah, you're gonna say like people are being petty. Are people being petty by just saying that they wish for their game to succeed over the other game? I guess.
But I think we all would agree that
And
the
then
game
there's the whole the posting of the wow, I've got 2 cakes posting, and I'm like, no, one cake's got acid in it, and I don't want to be high for the rest of this podcast.
games have been a big boon to each other. Like the existence of Rivals has really helped Overwatch. The existence of Overwatch, obviously, foundational to Rivals.
Absolute bollocks. The existence of Rivals has made Overwatch worse. Now, the existence of Rivals has made Overwatch succeed more, if you can blame the year development post Rivals for extra heroes existing in the game and for Overwatch stepping up its own game. But realistically, Aaron was already on this track to begin with. I don't think they would have sped anything up or slowed anything down apart from literally getting hero bans out faster. Realistically, Aaron's been on a massive fucking stampede in terms of PR for the last like year and a half, 2 years. He's been doing incredible. He has turned around the public perception of the game. I don't think you can blame Rivals for Overwatch turning around its public perception. No. I think the things that Rivals has brought to Overwatch, if they are brought to Overwatch from Rivals, are faster content cycle of absolute slop, hero bans that make the balancing decisions looser, things like perks, things like stadium, all of these things that, well, they are very good key jingles, but realistically, when we look at them, do they make the gameplay of the games better? No, they make them pretty much, and I would say objectively worse. Now, I'm happy to go into examples of that if anyone disagrees, but realistically, I'll just leave that to sit for now.
So in that spirit, I want to try and discuss what are the good things about both games that they can kind of learn from each other. Like, how have the games...
There's basically nothing to learn from Rivals. There's very little. Rivals has entirely worked off IP power. There's stuff to learn from Rivals on things not to do with a game. There's stuff to learn from Rivals of what you can gain just by shoveling crap into a trough and seeing if people will consume it. Rivals has an awful gameplay loop. They have made consistently bad balancing decisions since launch. They have fixed none of the mistakes they've made from launch, and I would say it's only got worse. Now, with Overwatch, I mean, they're on a consistent trend. The consistent trend is toward angular fights, dueling, lack of utility, 1v1s, and then tanks getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to stop them being able to be hated on because they're in a bad format. So we're in a situation where both games are kind of like in a bad sense, and I don't think they really are getting that much from each other apart from shovel the shit into the trough, they'll eat it anyway. And I think shoveling shit into the trough makes it so that the gameplay of the game becomes worse. And I don't like the gameplay of my video games becoming worse.
Biotically pushed each other to higher heights.
Bollocks.
And so to that end, we first need to set the scene. So I'm going to ask my homies here to give me their assessment of where the two games stand right now. And obviously, I'll caveat this by saying that, and people are already going to be mad at me in the comment section, which is like, well, you're just doing this after Overwatch released the biggest update, but Marvel Rivals hasn't released its new season yet, and it's on a low period. So we're not going to look at the absolute immediate.
I don't think there's any news with Marvel Rivals. Like, Marvel Rivals released Deadpool, got a big pump for that, and then hasn't really done anything for a while. I mean, it will get another pump for the next hero, sure. I don't really want to compare the two. Rivals gets a big pump for new hero releases. Overwatch has made itself into relevancy for the first time in the last couple of years. Man, big W. I don't really want to compare the two. I think Rivals gameplay is trash, but they're good at shoveling out shit. So, yeah.
We're going to look at what is the short-term future of the games, right? So, obviously, you can say... Right now, I think Overwatch is a 7 out of 10 and Marvel Rivals is a 5 out of 10. But
ooh, that's a good one. I think right now Marvel Rivals is a 3 out of 10, and I think Overwatch is a 7 out of 10, but it has the capability to be a 10 out of 10 if they actually treated the game well. Right? So it's very frustrating that we got these 3 points missing, because it's still a good game, it's still a fun game to play. In competitive play, the actual gameplay loop outstrips Rivals in almost every sense. It is so much more fun than Rivals to play. Now, we're not talking about the amount of content that comes out for the game, because I don't care about the content, I care about the actual gameplay. So yeah, Overwatch is very close to being good, but has consistently made poor choices.
I think Marvel Rivals is...
Surprised it got a 7 from Ralph. I don't understand why people think I don't like Overwatch. I've been on Overwatch since Overwatch's launch in 2016. I have not started covering Overwatch since then. I am continually frustrated by bad choices made that make Overwatch worse. I am continually frustrated that they continuously handicap themselves with their previous bad decisions and keep stacking stuff on top of them in order to make the game worse by, instead of fixing those decisions, adapting around them. But the current Overwatch gameplay is good because it was made by devs 10 years ago that got fired. All the current devs are doing is shuffling slop, same as Rivals. I disagree. I think the devs currently have made Overwatch in its 5v5 form as good as it probably can be, and then given up a little bit and started shoveling slop. They got to a point where Overwatch's objective balance was perfect. Tanks were massive. Tanks would always 1v1 any character in the game. Tanks would insta-kill people on cooldown. DPS were I mean, they're okay because of the DPS passive kicking in. The supports were a lot more duelist, dual focus. A lot of the utility had been taken out of the game, like Surge and Disruptor Shot, and put into damage, so that those characters that used to have the utility could but just use that utility for 1v1 duels. This is the optimal form of 5v5. I think it's ass, but it was the optimal form. And then for about a year, they've been, ever since hero bans were released, they have been regressing on this towards a looser balance with less care for individual character disparity in terms of power level, and also the less care for the interaction between characters on each team, between characters on their own team and between characters on the enemy team, by just putting in random bullshit changes.
Trending upwards, but Overwatch is trending downwards, right? Or however you want to phrase your opinion. So yeah, where do you rate the games now, and how do you see them trending in the coming months? We'll go with Sam first. Sam.
I think Overwatch is competing at shit shoveling with a shit shoveling company. And if the enemy team has a snowplow and you have a spade, you're gonna fail eventually. Now, Overwatch's gameplay is significantly better right now, but if we continue on this downward trend, Overwatch's gameplay is not going to be better in the long term. And now people aren't very sensitive to gameplay, right? In a 2-month period, people don't really care about gameplay for the most part, because they're sightseers. They're seeing all that they can. They're going around, they're having a little look-see. Now, we got the sightseers back, but to make the sightseers stick with the game, what we're going to have to do is show them a good gameplay loop. Now, we got the bonus of always having a better gameplay loop than Rivals, because Rivals is absolute ass, but at the same time, there are problems that I think people will find very hard to diagnose.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've launched Rivals in like a month. I've been stuck on Overwatch. I like Overwatch a lot right now. Like, this is the best Overwatch update since the good old October 2020 facts. Dare I reference it, right?
Absolute bollocks. All of the problems that you personally complained about have got worse every single time they've updated the game since you left Overwatch, and now you're coming back and you're like, wow, everything's perfect. It's not. There's loads of problems. The tanks are bigger than ever. The tanks are more lethal than ever. It is still unfun to play against the tanks. There's less good interaction between heroes. The perks are adding on slop that basically makes it so that heroes interact in a worse way. The new heroes, out of the 6 that have been released, 3 are permabanned. That is not because people don't like playing against new heroes. That's because they are ass. They are really bad. Nobody wants to play against Jetpack Cat. Nobody does. Nobody wants to play against Vendetta. You can call it a balancing issue because Vendetta's really strong, but at the same point, if we make Vendetta weaker, she's already got a ridiculous KD. What's going to happen is the deaths are going to go up, the kills are going to go down, and the character's going to be dead. Now, Domina, right? Does anyone want to play against a poke brawl hybrid tank with a massive burst and an instant get off me ability that requires no skill to use? No, nobody wants to play against that. So we've got a situation where they've shoveled the crap and now basically none of it's being able to be played. So we're going to need, like, I don't know, 3 more hero bans in order to even be able to get to Sombra if we wanted to. Who, by the way, still hasn't been fixed. It's been a year since they last said they would fix her. It's crazy. Nobody wants to play this. Nobody wants to play with these heroes. And yet people are back just because they jingled the keys. Now, Overwatch is okay, right? If you ban all these heroes, it is okay. The gameplay is okay. But it's not good compared to what it could be.
For the meme.
Yes. The bingo's already been hit, man. We're 5 seconds into the podcast. Bingo.
Demeter said he likes Overwatch.
Best patch since best patch since October patch. All they did was release 5 heroes, 2 of which can't see play. One of which is just has 2 grenades on a 20-second cooldown that he has to throw at the same time. Otherwise, he basically can't do anything, right? And they just buffed his gun to the point where he's actually viable. Right, these characters are at best half-baked, right? They have significant issues in my mind. Their kits flow really badly. They are, all of them, probably like 2 or 3, I'd say apart from Amran, even Amran's got problems because she's just the worst Genji. All of them seem to have 3 or 4 months away from being ready to be released, right? Amran has real problems with her gameplay loop. She's very committal. Her dashes and her shift just make it, and her E, sorry, just make it so that she's very, like, all in. Now, that doesn't really work being an all-in AoE character in a 5v5 format. Oh, wait, they got Suzu, they got Bubble, all your shit's purged, you can't do anything. Oh, is that good interaction between heroes? Oh, maybe we should have cooked a bit more. Now, Emre, double nade, 20-second cooldown, just terrible. We need to fix this, right? These are numbers changes, but these are design philosophy numbers changes that could have been fixed with more testing and other stuff like that. Mizuki He's only good because he does a ridiculous amount of damage, and that's the only thing that is good on supports at the moment, right? He's literally a duelist that just goes into the back line and duels. Now, he's got a good win rate because he duels well and he can kill people, but like the shift is a suicide button still, right? Like unless you get in, you win a duel and you hard run away, there's such a long cooldown on that, there's still a suicide button. Jetpack Cat, we don't need to talk about her and sorry, Domina, already talked about that.
There, I think we should wrap it
I
up.
know. It's,
Nobody wants to play against hybrid, poke, brawl, hyper tank with instant get off me button. That's a trick question because that's every tank in 5v5. Excellent.
Explain the
something I-
background then.
First of all,
No.
but man, I mean, I think Overwatch has really done a great job of adapting to what Rivals did. I think Rivals did better innovation, obviously, with like hero bans, which I know, Flats, I saw. I think
Absolute ass has been the direct determiner of all the bad changes in Overwatch since, in my mind, because they've given the developer the leash to do whatever they want.
maybe it was you.
Now, we can say maybe the game wouldn't be back to its current relevancy if they could not do whatever they want. Maybe it's a necessary evil for the devs to be able to churn the game over faster in order to be able to get popular, right? That's fine. But you can't tell me that this has been good for the game in terms of gameplay. It has not. Like, Sombra has not been fixed. Roadhog has not been fixed. Everything's so much looser. We're now releasing Lifeweaver 2 instead of fixing Lifeweaver in any meaningful way. Sure, it took them ages to do it to begin with, but realistically, that's where the priority should be.
You or Boger talking about like wanting more bans in the next season as they add more and more characters, which I think would be very, very helpful to the game. But honestly, like, you know, I really just miss the Overwatch engine. It's hard for me to get more than 140 frames on Rivals. 6v6 open queue with bans, and frankly, Overwatch's better ban system because there's no duplicate bans. Like,
there's no duplicate bans is only a cry for help from a scared child that needs 50 million bans because his game is absolute ass. Right? That's what you're saying. You're saying my game's so bad that if I don't get a duplicate ban, I can't ban the 4 supports I want to ban. Like that is such a tell. Come on, man. That is such a tell.
they took what Rivals did and made it better, and I hope Rivals can make those-
Okay, so the hero ban system in Overwatch, sure, right, there's no duplicate bans, but also the hero ban system on Rivals is the most banned system instead of a percentage-based ban system, and I actually think that this makes the steamrolling of the meta much worse, because if you vote for something that's off meta, you can't ban it. Do you have the agency right now to go into a game and ban Torbjorn? No, you fucking don't. He's not getting banned. So you don't have any agency. You can't ban what you want because realistically, unless it's already meta to be banned, that it doesn't get banned. So what it creates is it creates a steamroll towards the meta where the unpopular heroes are permabanned. And I think that's worse. I think that's worse than people being able to have a percentage chance of banning the unpopular heroes if they so desire.
same improvements, and overall the games have been really good for each other. I think that
Disagree.
it turns
Rivals has had a negative influence on Overwatch.
out there is enough room for two. And, you know, I think that these games have done nothing but make each other better, and I hope they continue to do so. I've just been
Disagree hard.
enjoying this Overwatch update.
Disagree with percentage bans because they give Jetpack Cat a chance to exist, but the percentage ban system will give the developers some reason to actually fix Jetpack Cat and make it so Tether is timed.
But no, I've honestly been playing a lot more Overwatch. I like Overwatch more currently than I do for Rivals, and I'm sure we're going to get to the reasons as to why later on, but I'll toss it to these next two guys and hear what they have to say.
Thank you. That's a good scene set. I won't push you for a rating, but I'm going to push Boger. Boger, I need numbers so that someone on Twitter can flame you about them.
Numbers for what?
Like, out of 10, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, and then explain.
Dude, he just deranked 2 ranks. This might not. If you want some rage comments, this is the time to ask him right now.
Listen,
He knows what he's doing.
Listen.
He's a professional.
I'm a professional. This is all part of my plan. But for Rivals right now, it's not too fun because we've been playing kind of the same meta over and over again, and the ban system is clearly worse than
Since the game's launch,
Overwatch. Like, Overwatch ban system is very clean, and there's no duplicate bans. and I like that.
Yeah, there's a self-report. Every single time they talk about the ban system, the self-report on my game being absolute slop. I need to ban more heroes. There's too many heroes in the game. Oh, they're all broken and they're not fun to play against. Well, that's what you fucking asked for when you asked for a higher cadence of hero release. Now eat your slop.
Quite a bit, and it's also quite a bit faster than Rivals.
Faster is fair. Faster is fair.
And again, with Rivals, we've just kind of been playing the same characters over and over and over again, and it's become really, really stale. So I do wish we had more bans in Rivals overall. I don't think this Rivals season is very fun. I think a lot of people would.
We need more bans. We must ban the 16 different supports with AoE healing circles because they're boring.
agree with me that this Rivals season has by far, maybe not been the worst, but like second or third in terms of like how bad it is. It's just also not fun with the amount of throwers there were. Now they're actually doing something about it, but there was a throwing Discord. I don't know if you heard about it, SB, a throwing
did.
website. People
Someone
would pay
about it.
bounties. There were bounty hunters going after streamers. It was insane.
Hilarious,
It still
by the way.
is probably happening to some extent,
So funny.
and it is quite annoying. And for Overwatch,
Never forget is everything's overpowered, nothing is overpowered. Rivals Reddit, December the 6th. Oh, we need more ban slots.
I agree with Samido in the sense that right now the game feels really fresh. Me and Flats actually played yesterday.
It's the same game. It's the same game. What are you on about? The heroes that have been released for the last 6 months cannot see play. They are permabanned. How can it be fresh? Nothing has changed. The game is the same. The only thing they've done is jingle some more keys in front of you by slightly changing the perks since you last played. What do you mean it's fresh? What do you mean? The gameplay's the same. It's the same game. What's fresh about it? Tell me exactly. Give me some context. The bad things are still bad. The good things are still good. And now it's less balanced than it ever has been in the last year. What's happening?
There's a lot of funny things you can do. There's a lot of new characters.
Funny things you can do. Piss off. No. There's not funny things you can do because having a Mauga be pulled by a jetpack cat onto me and be caged is not funny in any way, shape, or form. It's asinine bullshit that should not be in my video game.
I really like the new characters quite a bit. I like how the game feels as well.
Which ones? Tell me. Specifics.
I like watching characters actually get punished. Like if somebody plays in a bad spot, plays not behind cover, plays in the open, they die. And I also enjoy the skill level of the average player.
Interesting Season 9 poke there.
Even in lower ranks in Overwatch, it's quite a bit.
Oh, he's comparing to Rivals where nothing ever dies. I get it. Sorry. I was like, is that a Season 9 complaint? Oh, no, it's not a complaint about the comparison between old Overwatch and new Overwatch. What it is a comment that Rivals is such crap that basically Overwatch will always overtake it by having a negative healing system.
Better than in Rivals. I know Overwatch a little bit older. A little bit, 9 years, I don't know, 10 years, I think by now. So the players are obviously better than Rivals players, but just simple concepts like cover, nobody does that in Rivals. Nobody sits behind cover because healing is such a big factor in the game. You don't need to sit behind cover because you can just out heal any damage.
Yeah.
People,
like I said at launch,
don't take angles in Rivals.
Because there's no reason to, like I said at launch.
People don't take high ground in Rivals.
Because there's no reason to. Come on, man, come on. They changed nothing, and you're like, man, it's getting really stale that the stream's terrible.
Just run it down mid, and it's kind of annoying.
The
to
game's
look at
terrible.
Because if you can do these 3 things and you have good aim, you just win every game. Like I feel like.
No, you don't. You don't. You only win if you can burst into the back line before the supports react. Taking an angle and holding an angle is never incentivized in Rivals.
It's like those concepts that are really basic, people don't even follow in the game. And so if you want a more serious experience and you want a more cleaner experience.
Yeah, agreed entirely. You can't take an off angle in Rivals because you lose against the guys on main because of healing. 100%. You take an off angle on Rivals, first of all, your support can't follow you because it's too deep generally because of the map design. Second off, the support is not incentivized to follow you because so much of the value comes from just farming on main that if they leave that, they're losing a load of agency on the match. And third off, the supports just aren't designed to do that in the first place.
And surprisingly, I know it's crazy to say, if you want to have more solo carry potential, I would say Overwatch is way more fun. But if you just want to turn off your brain, write it down in Cloak and Dagger,
There's no real rivals education for a reason. Yeah, where are the rivals coaches?
heal your team, and then throw out your ult and like feel hyped that you faded like a 6-man strange ult. That's also fine. I think it's just Rivals way more casual. Overwatch right now feels a lot more competitive and a lot more fresh.
It's always weird to me that casual is descriptive for a game that doesn't ask anything of the players. I don't think casual players necessarily don't like having stuff asked of them. I think that yeah, supports in general love sitting on main with the enemy team in front of them, right? They love that. They don't like having flankers all over them on all angles, just murdering them for the backline, right? That's a general sense. I think this is one of the reasons why Rivals had actually overtaken Overwatch by making, allowing supports to have a supported playstyle. But there's that counter element where at the same time you have no agency. So we're balancing, as always in games, we're balancing sharpness of the interactions in the game with friction in the game. I feel Overwatch is very currently quite sharp and has a lot of friction, and Rivals currently has a load of friction, right? Because nothing dies and you can't do anything, but it's got very low sharpness. So is having a game with low sharpness and low friction necessarily a casual focused game? In comparison, yes, but is having skill scaling on the abilities and being able to do something better for casuals? Is there like a well here of like we're in a local minimum or local maximum of the like landscape where if we move to the side and increase the friction in the game or increase the sharpness in the game, the casual might be better off? I think probably.
And do you see that trend? Just to final thoughts. We'll obviously dive into.
People think Overwatch is competitive because Rivals just lowered the skill floor to entry to be active. Yeah, the trouble is that Overwatch kicked out the needs from everyone that was at the skill floor to entry. That's the problem.
This deeper, but do you see that trending upwards or downwards for like Rivals? Like we said, this is obviously a bad time for Rivals, but do you think they're gonna turn it around like in the next season and all that?
I think Rivals devs always. I mean, there's always something to criticize about the developers, but I think they do listen. I think we complained about.
No. I've been looking at Reddit, and Reddit has been entirely full with people complaining about the balance patch and the fact that it's poked continuously. They have not listened to shit. They have not increased the, they have not decreased the efficacy of ultimates. They have not decreased the cooldown of ultimates. They have not decreased the healing. They have not made it incentivized in any way to be a diver in the game, because realistically, if somebody looks at something, it's still turned off. The gameplay loop and the criticisms of the gameplay loop have been outright ignored from launch to now.
We complained about throwers. They started doing something about the throwers. I think whenever they see that the game is going down, they do something. They change stuff. They listen to the player base way more than Overwatch did back in the day, right? Like I feel like they're way faster to address things, and I'm sure they're gonna address it in season 7. And hopefully they release a big patch notes and like change up the meta and like make things a little bit more fresh. I at no point do I believe that this is the end of Rivals and they won't do anything about it. I think Rivals is still a big game. Everybody plays it. My friends play the game, and it's just still a fun game if you don't want to take it too seriously. And I think it's really funny, especially with the ban system and a lot of mechanics that Overwatch took them from Rivals. Like Overwatch did not want to implement them until they saw that Rivals implemented it.
Overwatch was taking all of these things, right? All of these things that Overwatch has taken from Rivals, such as hero bans and other things. Yes, there's so many other things that Overwatch is, such as, come on, give me something. Or is it just hero bans and they were going to implement hero bans anyway and they just sped up the timeline in order to release it faster? Are we talking about the hero cadence? They took the hero cadence from Rivals. Is that going well currently? Do you really think this is going well? 3 out of the 6 heroes being permabanned? Is that good? Like, come on.
And it worked really well. And they're like, damn, maybe we should implement that. And they did their own version, which is inherently better than Rivals. And now Rivals can look at Overwatch and be like, okay, this works. Maybe we should implement this and that and do.
Like what? Like what have they implemented? Give me one example. I think you're just talking bollocks. I don't think they've been learning from each other. I think this is the party line. I don't know why this is the party line. This is the fence sitting right here. This is the hey, I like both of the games. Hey, babadaboopy, etc. Like it's just literal fence sitting. What have they taken from each other explicitly? Tell me. They haven't. It's just hero bans. It's just hero bans. Maybe hero cadence, but the hero cadence is going badly.
So it is, you know, they learn from each other, and I think competition is great.
Flats now to kind of set a bigger picture scene, because from what Sam and Boger are both saying there, it's kind of like, look, right now Overwatch is killing it. They've done a really good job, and Rivals is maybe at a low period. So again, it's maybe unfair to compare right now. So I'm going to take it to Flats, and Flats, obviously, if you disagree, feel free to say, actually, I don't agree with the assessment those two gave. But what's the, like, let's take a slightly wider picture. Let's take like 6 months to this point, and then where you see it going like another month or two from now. How has the like evolution of these games gone, and how have they kind of bounced off of each other?
Well, the way I look at it is it's just a pendulum swinging back and forth, right? It's the same group of players playing both games. I don't know. There's like this like weird undertone, but
I disagree. I think it's different players.
like the hardcores of each game where it's like they're superior to the other, and it's like, no,
Just because you swing back and forth, and just because the people on this podcast, the most hardcore players, tend to swing back and forth, does not mean that the average or even the 3/4 of the player base in the games is swinging back and forth in any meaningful way. I don't think that's true.
you guys are just idiots. Like, just you're just sitting on your side of the fence and not enjoying the potential of playing whatever the fuck you want every day.
The potential, you know what, Flats? I am currently enjoying playing whatever I want every day. That's what I'm doing by not playing Rivals.
That said, though, Rivals in January had its newest peak since season 3. Like, it peaked like at like 250,000 players on Steam because of Deadpool. It was a huge first half of the season.
Agreed.
And people were like, holy shit, they actually cooked. This is gas. And it was.
It was incredibly annoying, and the character was insanely broken. It was just Deadpool, so people played it. I don't think there's any people saying, wow, this Deadpool character, this character's so well designed. I'm so happy to play this game because they've released new interesting gameplay. They weren't. They just wanted to play Deadpool, right?
And then it runs out of Steam until its next patch because it's a live service game in which Rivals understands its
Don't know
base.
where he's pulling 250k on Steam from? 200? That's the release, right? Yeah, 200. Weird. Maybe it was peak. Maybe it was peak for the day.
Is more casual. It's not trying to be a hyper competitive game, because if you want to be a hyper competitive game,
Hyper competitive every single time. Overwatch is not trying to cater to the hyper competitive. Overwatch, the only way that Overwatch caters to the hyper competitive is by having a negative healing system and being 5v5, which is much better for the aimers. The rest of the game is pretty damn casual for the most part, just because you can't exist on the map just wherever you want. Just because Rivals has the skill floor of a gnat does not mean that Overwatch is a hyper competitive game. It just doesn't mean anything. Yeah, sure, the competitive players are going to Overwatch because there's no depth whatsoever in Rivals at the high level, hence why you've got no coaches, but that's because Rivals is a terrible game in comparison.
you play Overwatch, right? Like, people have had that for 10 years. You're never going to catch that quickly. And so they lean into that, and they're going to be a game that has like big beats of, you know, huge hero comes out, super love, super fun for like 2 weeks, and then you just go do something else. And that's how you enjoy Rivals, genuinely. And
You know, like... you know, like when you're at the farm and like there's a like you just shovel the slop into the trough and the pigs just come stampeding over and they just run off afterwards, right? For God's sake.
watch,
Oh.
as great as the season was, are we going to like pretend like it wasn't like kind of in the gutter for like 4 months from like January to like October? Before that, like,
What do you mean it was in the gutter for 4 months? Why does this matter to this, right? I feel like in the gutter, it's been in the gutter for, I'd say, about 5 years, right? I mean, this is a pretty big difference, isn't it? Like, we're not saying it's not in the gutter. It's just done a big hype moment.
it was like
I don't know why you're
after
comparing.
Wu Yang release, there was just nothing. Even Vendetta season, people thought was a
Well, it's just a peak for Overwatch. Overwatch is going to be back, probably because the gameplay is bad. But realistically, this is a good success. I don't know why he's downplaying
filler
it.
season, and all I saw was just people complaining all over the place of like, oh my god, why? Like, fight back? Why are we not doing anything? Like, what's going on?
Fight back, why aren't we doing anything? The developers are making content at the rate that they can given the management structure of the video games. It is not, release something, whatever, just shove it out there, throw it in the trough, like, let the pigs eat it, they're getting hungry, right? I don't know, I just want the content to be good, right? I want more content, don't get me wrong, but if there's a certain amount of developers on the team and they can do a certain amount of stuff, I don't want them crunching heavily and therefore the actual content being worse, right? And that's the thing with Crunch. Like, Crunch produces trash for the most part, absolute trash, because there's no soul into it, there's no art into it. Making people do 60-hour weeks makes their work 30-hour week worth.
And they were saving up obviously to launch their big season in February. They do that all the time. They did it last year too. There's no surprise. Like, you can see it coming from 9 miles away. Maybe next year now we're like, okay, now you've done it 3 times in a row. Okay, now we know what's coming again. That said, though, when this same thing happened last year, Overwatch had a lot of momentum into April, and then it released Stadium, and it had a lot of momentum for another month or so, and then it kind of
Did it? This keeps being said. Did it? Did Stadium give it like? Yeah. None of this has really moved the needle. Stadium's been, in my mind, an abject failure in terms of player-based numbers. I mean, OpenQ gets more players than Stadium does. Stadium didn't really do anything. It was kind of like a waste of effort, and they're still putting resources into it. And we got one map in a year. Do you think one map in a year contributed to the decline of Overwatch over time? The success of Stadium was literally people knowing in their periphery, despite the fact they didn't want to play it, that Overwatch was doing new things. That was the only success Stadium had in my mind.
of like tapered back off again. And I wonder if the same thing will happen again, because obviously when you inject 5 heroes, a bunch of different changes, you know, you get people back into the game. If they haven't played a while, there's a rank reset. You get them to grind. Again, it's a competitive game, so there's that reward for grinding your way up, and you're starting lower again. They also changed the rank system, to my knowledge, where they made it a little bit easier to climb again. It was a little tough there for a little bit, but like, for example, like for a while there would be like 10 champion players a season. They'd be like champ 5. Now there's like tons of champion players. So
I'd rather they just didn't change things in terms of the rank system. Like, the prestige of getting to a rank shouldn't change based on the season in my mind. It kind of invalidates it, but I'm not too bothered.
You kind of scale that up. It's a little easier to climb. You get that dopamine, you get that reward. Although I guess the champion points thing was kind of a disaster last season. I guess they've kind of changed it to make it better. But I guess that's probably to fight against campers. So it gets like people who are really dedicated to grind a lot more. So streamers are playing more. And
guys, the Stadium player numbers are dropping. Release another multi-paragraph essay of patch notes and ignore the Stadium mode for 9 months. Hey, at least I get good documentation to their capacity changes, man.
pro players play more, and they care about like grinding up, because there's actually, you know, you have a little bit of competition instead of just getting really high rank and then camping. But Overwatch is a 10-year-old game.
Overwatch is going back to 30k average soon enough on Steam. Can't keep pumping out enough content to make up for the bad gameplay. I will hold you to that. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I think the kids do, the pigs do like eating the slop, and just depends how long it takes. For me, the new characters have worn out their welcome already. I mean, 3 of them are being banned out of the 6, but you know what? Yeah, I don't think Overwatch is going back to 30k. I think it's going easy 50k, if not 60 to peter off. You look at Rivals release, right? Rivals release 300k, and then it kind of like thirds it to 100k, and that's about where it stands. Overwatch wants 85, so I'm expecting a third of those players to really stick around, maybe a bit more. And a third of 165 is a little bit more, approximately 80 if we add more on. Well, it's half the 80, but I'm expecting Overwatch to have better retention. Math is hard.
And like they, I think, did nail it with the whole.
Right, I said 60. Approximately 60 is what I meant to say. If mid-season patch day,
start
yes.
to lean back into their lore and make every season kind of a story time thing with, like, for example, at some point I'm sure they're going to iterate on like what happened after Vendetta killed Doomfist, right? And it's like those kind of things is what's going to get people outside of the playing everyday sphere to come back all the time and like come and take a look. So as long as they keep like what they're doing, and keep pumping out new content. Which, by the way, and now it's my turn to rage bait the YouTube commenters. You motherfuckers for years would fucking stamp your little feeties and say, no, we don't want new heroes. Releasing
They're banning them! You can't play the new heroes flats. They're unplayable. You can't play them. I can't play the heroes. Oh my god, Christ. It's like saying, right, we changed up a movie to be, instead of being like an interesting indie movie, we changed it to be an action movie, and we've put out millions of dollars in terms of advertising. Oh, well, you said you didn't want action movies. What? Yep. The jingle of the keys was very big. Everyone's come back to the game. It's the same game. It's the same fucking game they've been playing for the last 2 years. Yes, there have been small improvements to the 5v5 format. I fully admit that. The gameplay is okay. But it's the same game. Emre is low-key meta? Yeah, because they increase his gun damage to ludicrous levels. That's why he's meta, and he's got a ridiculous amount of bursting nades, is what I meant to say. He's making up fictional people to get mad at? No, he's talking to me. I don't want more hero cadence. I want the hero cadence to be exactly what it is. I remember talking a couple of days before the release. I remember talking on the day of the release and saying exactly this. I do not want faster hero cadence if they cannot keep up the quality. And then, for that day, I held myself back and I said, let's see what it's like. Let's see what the heroes are like. Surprise, they're fucking banned from the game. You can't play them. Who knows, right? Seems like they weren't able to keep up quality, right? Amran's got loads of problems in gameplay loop. Emre's got loads of problems in gameplay loop. Domina's got, well, really an amazing amount of burst and loads of problems in the gameplay loop as a result of that. Nobody wants to play again. Jetpack Cat is just, may as well be not in the game already to begin with. And Mizuki has, I think, probably the best out of these, but he's got some reasonable problems in terms of gameplay loop. We're talking about these, and I don't think any of them are 10. I think Mizuki's like a 7.5. I think Amran's like a 6. Everyone else is lower. And I'm like, ugh, like, I just want you to spend a month or two with the general audience, right? I want you to spend a month or two with Spylo testing. I want you to take his advice. And I want to be able to have interesting people and analyze these kits and how they play on average and what they do on average and why they're frustrating or they're not frustrating and adapting around that. But nope, we got 5 heroes and we can play 3 of them.
heroes,
6 heroes and we can play 3 of them.
they're always slop, and new content is bad, and nobody wants that, and it's stupid.
They are slop flats. Do you play the game? I can't play the heroes. They're slop. They're fine. The art team did incredible. The sound design did incredible. But the gameplay loops aren't good. They just aren't good gameplay.
And I like my purest. Fuck you. Fuck your purest balance bullshit. Like,
I don't care about balance. I want them to be interesting. I don't give a shit about balance. I want them to be interesting. I want the interactions between heroes to be good. I want the gameplay to be good. I don't give a shit about the balance, right? If the gameplay gets worse, that is worse. Now, the balance getting worse does make the gameplay worse in some amount, obviously, but I care about the interactions more so than anything else.
It's not real. Like, they release a bunch of content, and guess what? Everyone's like, oh shit, this is fucking gas. And guess what? You don't even get to play like 3 of the heroes. Like Cat's permaban.
I don't give a shit about balance. He's gone rogue. Yeah, fuck your video game. What does it even matter? Hey, we're shoveling slots now.
As permaban, right? And then like
wait,
the
what?
Heroes, like Cat's permaban.
Yeah.
Domina's permaban.
Yeah, they're dead
right?
permaban.
And then like Onron kind of blows, right? Like a little bit. So you know what I mean? So,
and keep going flat. Come on, flats. Keep it going. And Mizuki's a little bit underwhelming. And Emre has 2 nades on a 20-second cooldown that he has to throw together. Then he AFKs for the rest of it. And they just increase his gun damage to the point where he's actually okay regardless. And there is no counterplay versus his nades. And that's kind of getting a bit frustrating at this point. Because realistically, I'm getting chunked down from 250 health to 0 by 2 nades. And I can't do anything about it. And the Emre's gameplay loop is very boring as well. Because they have to wait between all of those. And come on, like, He's like, I don't care about balance. All the new heroes are shit. Fuck it. Just release stuff. It just doesn't matter.
Like they release a bunch of content, and guess what? Everyone's like, oh shit, this is fucking gas. And guess what? You don't even get to play like 3 of the heroes. Like Cat's permaban, Dominez permaban, right? And then like Onron kind of blows, right? Like a little bit. So you know what I mean? So like there's like a few heroes you don't even get to really play, but
All of them.
you know what's funny? When you release good content for your game, people will play it.
Good,
And they
good,
enjoy it.
good. It's banned. There is no content. There is no content. They just release something. It looks like there's content. Everyone thinks there's content. The tourists are here, but there is no content.
Back more often. That's crazy, crazy. So the question is, can Overwatch keep that up for a whole year? Because they're doing what, 10 heroes the whole year? What's the next hero look like? You know, I don't think there's another tank hero coming till like the end of the year. Fucking shocker in that department. But it's like this is a new era. Like
Your queue times will get a bit longer and you will like it.
never seen them do this before. And quite frankly, it's
The
embarrassing.
tourists play quick play, so they get to play the content. One might question whether if Jetpack Cat is banned at all ranks in competitive play, maybe the quick play players having to play against it isn't very fun for them. Maybe. I don't know. They're certainly not banning Jetpack Cat because they're overpowered. They're banning them because they're boring. But, you know, it's fine.
That it took this long, which is like why I'm super grateful to Rivals even existing. Because like
Because Rivals has made Blizzard release slop. And it's so tasty, my slop.
for those who don't know, when Overwatch launched in 2016, the hero cadence was 3 heroes a year. That was 2016.
Yeah.
They had like a 200-person dev team. It's actually probably had less than that. It's probably much bigger now because they have so many things with Stadium, and the live service game has a lot more
I think to my knowledge, it's about the same.
support that it used to have. And it's like, I don't know why it took so long to get here. So it's like a little bit of uncharted
I
territory.
don't know if they care, to be honest. They just see funny, goofy stuff until they die like 10 times to it. But then what's going to happen is they're going to have their 3 weeks of fun or their month of fun, right, with Jetpack Cat. They're going to be like, oh, the gameplay's kind of boring. Guess I'll go do something else, right? Then in 6 months, we're going to release another couple of heroes, or in a year, we're going to release another slew of heroes that are going to come back to the game. Jetpack Cat's going to be fucking nuking them, and they're going to be like, oh, I remember why I don't like this game. Okay, I remember why I don't like this game now. It's going to be like, oh yeah, that was the reason.
I think as long as Rivals keeps fighting back, then Overwatch will keep doing its thing and keep doing it well. I do think I disagree with you guys on the hero bans thing. Like, I understand that like the no duplicate ban is like the
Interesting.
only thing that I think is like a huge win, but you can only ban 2 of one role. And like, imagine you play Rivals and you can't ban 3 supports. Like, how often do we want to ban 3 supports in Rivals? Like, it was like,
It's such a self-report, man. They out here. Oh, they out here tattling on themselves.
multiple seasons in a row. You know, it's like, oh, we wanted to ban Gambit Loki. Oh, well, guess what? They counter banned us with like a shitty Atom
Yeah.
ban. Now we can't ban
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
Gambit.
but
I was like,
yeah,
I'll
sorry,
be
Dan.
honest. I'll be honest about that. Like, Rivals balancing is just way more whack than Overwatch in the sense that like
It's not the balancing. Why do you keep saying balancing? The hero bans don't balance the game, apart from outliers like Vendetta. Hero bans make the game even remotely playable due to the absolute propensity of asinine bullshit to exist in them.
Gambit, like I remember I explained Gambit to a bunch of Overwatch players because I was doing a podcast with Derpy, and they couldn't believe that character is real. Like they couldn't believe that character actually exists in Rivals, right? So they're banning
course it
multiple
exists.
characters from the same row kind of makes sense. In Overwatch, like I feel like there's strength in all, like in every row there's at least one character you can ban out. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to target ban one.
Guys, for the game to be playable, we need to ban 100 supports. They all have healing circles. We need to ban all of them.
And also like no
You-
duplicate bans does like it's so good. Like genuinely.
But that's
it's
still
so
a
good.
restriction, though, right? Like that's still like kind of an annoying restriction. Like if you get into a
That's
game
true.
and you're like, okay, we don't want to play against these heroes, right? Like for example, previously, Diva and Zarya have been like hard meta for like 6 months before like they had a few changes, right? So like every game Diva Zarya was banned. What if you get into a game and it's like we want to ban Diva Zarya because fuck those two, but also like Sigma's really strong here. I don't want to play against Sigma either.
Well,
And
that's
it's like, will
different,
they beat
though.
you?
That's different than dupe bans. You're talking about the cap per role per ban,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
2 teams
Yeah.
banning
Right.
the same hero. I think that you guys are talking about 2 different things. You're not wrong.
No,
Sorry
no.
to cut you off.
No,
No,
I know.
I
That's
know
why I
what
said-
Fud's saying. I agree with
Yeah.
him.
I was
in
saying
that
that
sense.
the good is no duplicate.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But
Yeah.
the bad is the cap. Like I think
Well,
that's stupid. I
can
think that say like
criticize
it's
both.
so superior is crazy.
We can mix it. You know, we can have
We can
more
hate on
advanced
both, guys.
and no,
That's an
yeah,
option.
yeah, both, you know.
We can piss
No,
everyone
yeah.
off. you
That's
know?
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But another positive way to frame it is that
don't like
the positive way of framing is they both still have room to grow from each other, right? Like rivals could say, let's not do this
Schizophrenic talking, be quiet and learn.
duplicate ban.
I would have really liked to see. Yeah, they cut it too tight. I want to see the context. I want to see what happened.
Fans in Overwatch could say, let's start adding more, because I'm still holding some rage over like the when I left years ago. We were here arguing for bans for years, and then now people were like, no, it won't work in Overwatch. There's like not enough heroes, and all those arguments kind of have collapsed since then, right?
They haven't. Roadhog can still ban Anna and then be really big and annoying, and the gameplay's bad. Because the ban system doesn't take into account the counter swaps. The counter swaps exist, and if they ban the counter swaps, then they get to be happy. Is that good? Like really? Like, do we think that's good?
kind of see very obviously how good it is. So
That's still
why
around
Rivals.
though.
What?
That Overwatch mentality, it 100% is still around.
Yeah.
Like I see it. Like I'm not trying to flame anyone, but like they're a lot more communicative now than they used to be. So you could see like devs talking to Twitch chats or like like they talk on Twitter or whatever it is. And like if you have like a more advanced suggestion, they will always go, well, what about like this small niche case? And it's like that is the thing that has always held them back for years. Rivals isn't afraid of that, and even if they fuck up,
Small niche case, also known as what if we put hero bans into the game and hero bans make the average gameplay worse while also giving you a outlet in order to be able to complain about the average gameplay, right? What if we completely remove any incentive for us to actually fix anything in the game because fuck you, ban it, right? Like what if we just do that? What is screw you, right? Like what if that's our answer to all your problems with the amount of friction, the amount of sharpness, the amount of the bad balance in the game? What if our answer is just screw you, right? What if we just said nano boost gives you 25% movement speed? What if we just do that? What if screw you? That's it.
like they will swing the bat and go for it, and then they'll go, ah shit, that kind of sucked, and either try to like fix it or like go back. Overwatch is very methodical in the way it goes. That's what probably
We'll never forget that one patch where they buffed Tracer and Reaper and the patch notes were just ban them. I'm pretty sure I've got it on here. Where are they? Widow. And I've got the Widow one. Parts of the reason heroes like Reaper and Tracer had their damage reduced in the past was due to the shift in the 5v5 format. Solo tanking and less frequent peeling made flanking heroes more effective, along with their strong performance on certain maps and game modes like Push and Flashpoint. This is now less of a concern with the introduction of map voting and hero bans, which help limit overperformance. So we're restoring some of their damage potency. That's the response cap. It's so funny.
worries me more than anything long term, because like the way I think of it is like they're almost like a grandma on their on their walker. Like they're sturdy, they got their walker, they're good to go. And then like Rivals is a kid trying to pull them, so grandma's going a little faster, But like if you didn't have the kid pulling them, grandma would be taking her damn time, putting that thing forward.
I don't think it's changed it in any way, shape, or form. I think they would have done a big content release as they do every year. They were already planning these content releases. I think this was the long-term goal for the game. I don't think Aaron was ever going to slow down on this. And if he has sped up, then he sped up in a way that's made the game worse, right? To play for players of the video game, right? Not just tourists.
2 steps, put her thing forward, 2 steps, But now, like, kids pulling on him real quick. It's like, gotta go faster. But she's hanging in there. So,
Yeah,
it
at the
is
same
what it
time,
is.
though, I think the Overwatch.
Wives the running kid, but forgot his shoes. Every step hurts more and more. Oh, God. Flats thinks game dev decisions happen in a few months. Well, it's been a year now or so. I think it's a bit more reasonable. We've had the anniversary of Rivals release. But, like, realistically, the moment the Rivals released, everyone was like, well, Overwatch is copying it. No, they're not. They're just doing exactly what they would have done anyway. And if they have sped up, clearly it's not going well.
Is a much more refined game than Rivals, which is why they do.
Oh, for
that.
sure.
And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing in some aspects. Like, to challenge some of the ban discussion here, I think the main reason why you're trying to ban triple support more consistently in Rivals is because they haven't improved their gameplay loop. And SVB, this might be a good segue.
Guys, I just want to be the reasonable one here, right? The reason why you're discussing all this, right, is because the gameplay's absolute ass, right? The gameplay loop It's what it's been since launch, which is just terrible. Like, I just want to make sure we're clear that while the content is funny and all the heroes get released and Deadpool's kind of cool, I mean, it is really bad, isn't it?
This is the biggest reason why I've stopped playing Rivals. And I saw one of your shorts, Flats, and I'm going to disagree with your point. You said that you disagree. Well, I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to iterate because I think it's a bit of apples to oranges where people are trying to make these comparisons. Where you said that people complaining that the Rivals meta was the same was stupid because there's a lot of different characters that have been played in meta. And you're right.
It's the same fucking thing because there's no variance because there's so many different characters that do the same thing.
But you are right when you say that, and I think what people are mixing up is the technicality in that the gameplay loop and the order of operation and fights feels identical now to what it did when the game came out, in that you're sitting there waiting to build an ult or particularly a support ult every 30 seconds.
No. They've been really responsive to our feedback. Do you remember them being responsive to our feedback? Like when, yeah, like
it doesn't really matter what support you ban. That just feels like how the fights break down because I don't feel like there's any neutral in that game. Coming back to Overwatch,
that's a fundamental gameplay issue. But yeah, you're right. 100%. You're right.
And I think the thing.
Hey, look, the gameplay problem is that there's no gameplay apart from if there's ultimates. I can't. Come on, how do you take this seriously, guys? Like, how does anyone take this seriously? Of people saying, man, this game's great, what's the issues? Oh, wait, it has been like this since launch. There is no gameplay. The gameplay's trash. I'm so glad Overwatch is following in the footsteps of this game with gameplay that is complete trash. Oh, it's so much better.
Thing that they should do to fix that would make the game so much better. And SPB, this is why I struggle to tell you what's going to happen in the next 6 months, because
it will be reduce the power of ultimates across the board, reduce the power of healing across the board, reduce the cooldowns of ultimates across the board, reduce the cooldowns of abilities across the board, make it so that supports have more reason to go off on angles and be able to support, and then you start getting it. And to make tanks more capable of doing AoE cleave and area denial, and allow, and then basically most of Rivals' problems are fixed, but they don't want to do that. Reason why they don't want to do that is they want to keep the skill floor inside the ground.
Both of these games could just decide, you know what, we're going to do this, and it could make their game so much better.
But Ralph, you're just making it like Overwatch. The gameplay is bad.
Like, I'll talk about what I think it would be for Overwatch, but for Rivals, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do to triple support is nerf every ult duration. Every ult, including DPS ults, should be like 30% less. I've been saying this for seasons. Like, I don't think that Luna ult or Cloak or any of these ults should last more than 10 seconds.
Hi,
when their build rates are so fast and their neutral cooldowns are so strong. And you can nerf every DPS ult in the process.
Okay, just give 1 second, guys. Now we can go back.
But I'm so tired, and this makes me so mad every time I see this comment on Twitter where I'll come out and I'll be like, yo, like, the idea that everyone is super, if everything's broken, nothing is so cap. And then everyone will be like, oh, it's a superhero game. They should have superpowers and feel like they are.
I still run with it. I like it.
Oh my god, Flats, but you agree the gameplay is bad. You agree there is no neutral gameplay. Oh, the gameplay's bad, but fuck it. I mean, what are we even doing? We're not playing a video game. We're playing a hero simulator, right?
I like doing it because now you can't disagree with me anymore. It's like, wait a minute, hang on. You said that. You came up with that. So like now it's. I'm just saying what you said.
If it was accurate,
I'll let Bogo get in as well. Fast Sam, finish your Flats. Just finish your
some people
friend.
really, it's a mentality thing because like at the end of the day, a lot of people just don't want to take the game as seriously and like as we do or like as I do or Samito or like Flats.
The gameplay is bad. Boga, the gameplay is bad. That literally just impacts everyone unilaterally. That does not make high rank gameplay worse. That makes the gameplay bad. Just because people are willing to put up with it because they're superheroes does not mean the gameplay is good. Just because they want their jingly keys and they want their ultimates to be really cool does not make the gameplay good. You can say, oh wow, there's this fantasy that overrides the gameplay, but the gameplay is bad. It's bad. We all agree.
Know how much Flats grinds serious. I don't think he does anymore. I think he's just there for the vibes at this point, right? Like and like I'm more inclined to be in the same boat as Flats nowadays, because it does get frustrating to actually face the same issues and have no neutral and play the same gameplay loop. Or you can just not care and live your superhero fantasy and run it down and spam your world every 20 seconds and just have a fun time. And that's why people really like Rival.
Have a fun time. The gameplay is bad. Right?
At the end of the day, right? I'm not disagreeing with you at
It won't last 20 hours of gameplay. People don't really enjoy this in the long term.
all. I agree that they should do something about the gameplay loop. I definitely agree that they should make it more neutral, because the player base is growing. The player base is getting better at the game, hopefully, and people are getting bored because this is too simple now, right? So, but I think straying away too much from that and like going the Overwatch route and making it more streamlined and more sanitized is also the wrong way, because many people play Rivals purely because it's so piss easy to play. It is genuinely super easy. Like the
Whoa, hey, you're rage betting some commenters.
bro, I don't care. They
Agreed, Boga. Rivals is super easy to play, and maybe, just maybe, there's a middle ground between turning off all healing sources whenever anyone's taking damage and forcing full peel with abilities, which is incredibly oppressive, and the opposite, which is making it so that the supports have infinite healing, and if they've got an eye on you, you never die. Right, maybe there's a middle ground. Maybe that middle ground isn't in 5v5 where the enemies can come at you from all angles so the supports can't exist in a healthy way. Maybe the middle ground is a game where Mercy could be a character that's not awful, or, even if she has a high win rate, can actually heal. Maybe the middle ground is allowing supports to do the things that the average low-level support player actually wants to do, such as generally existing on the map, not dueling, being able to support other people, which is why they come to the game in the first place. Maybe the middle ground is somewhere here, but it's certainly not just all, like, we're on a spectrum here, where over here we have Rivals, where it's like, the healing is infinite. Over here, we have Overwatch where the healing is 0. And we're just like, haha, I like my 2 cakes. And I'm like, there's something in the middle, right? There's something missing from both games. They're both bad. Because though this is terrible, this Rivals one is terrible, and this one's okay, you bring it a bit closer. You make it more sensical. You can cater to every person and at the same time make the gameplay loop better, and at the same time make the supports feel like they can exist at the skill floor at low level.
If you have any, self-awareness, I'm right. The game is genuinely easy, and that's why it's so fun, because it's casual.
You want to know why it's really easy? Like, there's obviously you're right, the balance thing, but like, can we just throw that away for like half a second? Like, unlogical thoughts.
Yes,
it's a newer game, and it's way easier to get into a newer game than an older game, right? So like, if I try to get into League of Legends,
I disagree. I think Rivals is just easier at any level in comparison to Overwatch. Obviously, it's very hard to compare the levels, but in terms of a similar level in Rivals versus Overwatch, similar level in Rivals will be going for some duels, generally doing some stuff, doing healing on whoever's relevant, keeping presence, using ult on cooldown. In Overwatch, it will be, oh shit, there's a Genji over there, there's an Amran over there, there's a Tracer over there, the hit scans just peak with full health from that high ground and I'm dead, the tanks jumped on me at full health and I'm dead, right? That's the difference between the gameplays. I would say that at the same level, the gameplay loop of Rivals is just significantly worse. And in Overwatch, is significantly sharper to a ludicrous degree. That does not make it...
Today, I would literally get clapped by bronze players for like 2 months, right? Because like those fuckers have been playing in bronze for like 6 years, and like the bronze player today,
sure, but then we're not comparing the same levels, Flats. We're not complaining the same levels of gameplay.
10 times better than a bronze player 10 years ago when the game came out, and it's like the skill floor to get into a game like Overwatch is so hard because like there's just basic knowledge, right? Like what the fuck? Like if you're walking up to a fight, right, and you're playing Winston, you're playing the monkey guy because you think he's funny, and you're like, "Ooh, this guy's cool," and then your Ana behind you says nothing, and they just go, they hit the ultimate ready button, right? We all know what that means, right? Like they're trying to nano you in, unless you have like a Genji on your team or something. Like that's like the signal without no comms, and then you walk up and you like jump to somewhere else, and they nano you, and you're like, "What? Why did they nano me? What do I do? Why was this?" And then they get mad at you because they're like, "I told you," and you're like, "No, you didn't." And it's like, no, that's the international sign in Overwatch. So like, those small things are so like new, like so fleshed out now, you'll never catch up. So if
I feel like he's just comparing different levels. He's comparing the level, and sure, in Overwatch, there is a lot more ingrained knowledge of systems that people have at any level. I agree, but I don't think before Gold, any of this is assumed, quite frankly. I think that before Gold, pretty much nobody expects anything of you in the game, and they just do the things on you. Now, in Rivals, before the equivalent level of Gold in Overwatch, yeah, sure, it doesn't matter whether you're being altered and whether like they communicate stuff and whether things are being thrown at you because, I mean, let's be honest, before Gold in Rivals, in terms of their skill level, it doesn't matter to you that they do that. Their interactions are almost completely separate than yours. There's no interaction between heroes on each team aside from just infinite health or zero health. It's so much more of a solo base game in terms of the way that you interact with the enemy team, and like that's less communicative, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just a different skill set. I don't think it's
you're a
comparable.
new hero shooter player, Rivals is your answer. Like that's your only in. You'll like almost never get into Overwatch unless you want to put 2,000 hours in. It's like, what's the point at that point? Like, are you trying to be a pro player? You want to make
I
half
just think you're talking about different levels than I am.
a loaf of bread a month? That's ambitious, but you know what I mean.
Wait, one loaf.
It requires you to learn things, but it doesn't assume you learn things, right? There's no assumption made here, but there is something to learn. Having a smooth onboarding learning curve that goes up over time instead of just a flat plateau of nothing to learn apart from interacting with the enemy team does not make the onboarding easier for your game as long as the low levels are the same.
One
They're
loaf.
up to a whole loaf.
A whole loaf. A whole loaf.
Wow, Overwatch
Impressive.
really is bad.
I've
Holy
seen
shit.
it.
I
I've
missed
seen
I
it.
missed
It's
a lot.
crazy.
I missed a lot. They got a whole
It's being
other half.
completely hyperbolic.
Pause. But
In order to generally feel like you're playing the game, you have to be on the character and you have to interact with the enemy heroes. The skill curve to Overwatch is just not that hard. I think it's harder than it ever has been, don't get me wrong. I wish that the average gameplay loop of Overwatch was generally able to exist in 5v5, but it isn't because there is no bastion of not having to click people in Overwatch anymore. And I think that has increased the learning curve. But realistically, you come in at the same level. It's slightly harder. We all agree it's slightly harder, but I mean, if you got a chimp, they could play Rivals at low level, and if you got a chimp, they could play Rivals at high level. And Overwatch actually has some sort of curve. That having a curve doesn't make it so that it's harder, right, to get into the game and to learn the game. It just means there's something to learn.
can we actually compare that small niche nano boost situation to just how piss easy picking Rocket Raccoon is, sitting in the back of the map like a Boy Scout camped out with the campfire, everything, not playing the game at all? And my rebuttal to this is this, and I agree with
Didn't that
you
used
guys.
to be Mercy though? Kinda like back
No,
in the day.
Rocket-
No, because Mercy had skill scaling before they've removed it all. Mercy had to be active. Mercy had an LOS and a movement demand and also a locality demand that demanded her to get close to the action in order to be able to do things. Mercy was, however, the no-aim hero. Now, no-aim heroes are massive for onboarding when people don't want to no-aim. Now, Mercy is in the gutter, and Rocket is the only way that you can do that. It's like,
It's
Way
over
worse.
for you, Flash,
Ro-
bro. The
Rocket
army's
is
coming.
way
It's
worse.
over.
Rocket Raccoon is
Like, the way
most
people view it, I mean.
character I've ever seen in a video game in my entire life. Ever. Not even close. But here's my question to you guys.
what do you think? Queues are much worse this season with 3 times the player base? Is it just because of the rank reset? Player base naturally sorts itself into the easier roles, which is going to be support and DPS, because tank needs some sort of knowledge on flow of the game in order to be able to play the game. Generally, tank gets a bit of an impulse in terms of players for the first week of new players joining, from my experience, and that's because people will try things out at random. But I think tank has a bit like a much longer learning curve and much more punishes mistakes. I also think the actual percentage of players that want to play a hard carry hero is significantly lower than you think, right? The hard carry DPS tank that just kills the entire enemy team, you'd rather play DPS. So people naturally just sort themselves into DPS and support. That's just what's always happened. As to why the player base has not moved into tank, it will be because a portion of the player base is from Rivals, and Rivals support is much easier, and therefore people haven't learned to interact in a negative healing system. I think tanks have more bans for themselves. There's another one for it. There's less choice on tank. Tank is just a bad gameplay loop. It's just boring. I think that's the truth, and I think there's an impulse into it that dries off in a week, and then over the time, the people that have clicked with tank end up turning off tank within a month. And so there's like this peak and then dip, and then this slow peter off. Learn Overwatch on tank, you poor sweet summer child. Yeah, and tank no new hero is the other one that I'm on. I agree. Yeah, Domino's like literally not in the role. Like there are no new heroes for tanks. That's another one.
We say that it's about the hero fantasy, right? But I think that if the sustain is that strong, what about the hero fantasy for characters like Scarlet Witch, who's just like perma bad? Like there's not like a consistent
It's just an excuse. It's straight up just an excuse.
answer. Say good.
Bro, I don't. That character should never be playable.
Yeah,
Like
bro, at the end of the
genuinely.
day, you're still picking and choosing, right? Like, why does opening up the neutral take away from people's ability? My argument would be it gives the ability for more heroes that
100%. Sam's entirely right here. Just entirely right.
aren't the meta for that season to actually live their hero fantasy because there's actual meaningful downtime. Like, you aren't destroying.
Your hero fantasy comes from the animations, from the abilities, from the things you can do specifically in terms of mobility. Your interaction with the enemy teams that are sharp from your hero fantasy take away from the other person's hero fantasy in exactly the same proportion. So changing down the sharpness of the game does not remove your ability to be this character. It gives you counterplay and outplay potential that is not overriding. And the hero fantasy for most characters is just outplaying people, right? That's the hero fantasy. It's not doing stuff to them that they can never stop. It's not they didn't have any support abilities and like just happened to press Q and they all died and like, oh wow, I got a 6k. The hero fantasy is the ability to be able to outplay for
skill floor of the game by or raising it to a point where people can't get into the game by making downtime. If there's actual downtime, I think it'd be easier for more people and more heroes to actually make plays. So I think you guys are right, but I actually disagree with the outcome. I think it would help rivals a ton. It would help the ceiling of the game, and I don't think it would move the floor, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, I don't feel like the hero fantasy is there for everyone.
So let's try and just streamline the discussion so we can be very discreet. So
Sure.
to summarize, Sam started off talking about just like the general game feel, right? And like the game feel of Rivals, you're like, there's no neutral.
And we all agreed
Right,
that was awful.
what I identified as a sort of major complaint. Flats kind of brought in the idea that like, well, maybe part of this is by design, which is that we want an easier game in Rivals, but also part of it comes down to experience, because maybe 5 years from now, Marvel Rivals will be a lot more sophisticated. So let's try and identify, like, what do we think there's a world where Marvel Rivals can be like more of a streamlined game loop, where there is more of a neutral, where there is perhaps, as Samito saying, like these heroes that aren't just completely brainless, and it still captures that
No, because in order to do that, they'd have to nerf supports, which would cause a massive uproar.
that casual audience. I'll take it to Boger first. Like, do you think
Unless they do a
there's a
massive
world there
patch.
where they can make that, like, thread that needle, or do you think actually some of the brain AFK is integral to what makes Marvel Rivals successful?
I think the brain AFK part is I think it was and probably still is integral to the game's success, because a lot of people just genuinely just play it super casually. But I think as the player base grows and as the player base keeps investing more and more time and learning the nuances of the game and maybe learn how to hold high ground and stand behind the wall
You don't
and
need
all
to do
those other
that. You
things,
don't need
as
to
the
do
player
that.
base evolves, I believe in that actually making more of a neutral and making the game a little bit harder and not a slop fest would be beneficial.
Why is nerfing supports always the forbidden move for any hero shooter? I don't understand. Because Rivals has courted an audience on purpose of support players that can't do their job. Or that think that they need infinite resources. Like the trouble is, you can give a monkey a banana, but if you try and take a banana off a monkey, you're getting mauled, right?
I agree with Samito to some extent there, because the players will get bored eventually from holding right click on rocket. I don't think any sane human can spend 5 years holding right click on a rocket from like super far away. So I think actually adding some more nuances, adding a little bit more difficult to the game, adding a little bit more punishment so you can actually show off the fact that you're better at the game and you're good at the game would benefit people, because it's going to keep the game a little bit more refreshing. And I think any game free to play model that releases content as often as Rivals does, usually does a big overhaul of the systems, or to some extent, like not change the game completely, but change some
Sure,
aspects
yeah.
of the game just to keep it fresh, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Rivals down.
And as Sam has said, and I've said, there are ways out of this. They'd just be having to they'd have to be willing to do a paradigm change that would rock the boat to a reasonable degree.
Line maybe this year, maybe next
Now, would it completely? I don't know. That maybe there would be a support strike and nobody'd be willing to do it. But the support's always been overpopulated in Rivals anyway, so whatever.
year.
Who cares?
They actually kind of like decide, hey, too much healing, too much ult charge, everything farms too fast, add more of a neutral, and I think people would be satisfied from that, because
The neutral's also not great though, is it, Boga? Right? Like when we are in neutral, and even if we did turn down the support, it's not great. All the abilities are on too long a cooldown. There's no incentive to group up on most characters. Like the tanks just don't interact in a very good way. There's too many hard stuns. There's a lot of problems in the neutral gameplay that are being covered up by the fact that there's a lot of healing. The game's just pretty poorly constructed in terms of the hero interactions. And that's what we should have been making good in the first place, but we never did because we're too busy releasing heroes.
it would feel fresh, it would feel like, hey, I actually have to learn the game. There's more things to learn. Because for me, at least, when playing competitive game, I really like learning the game. I really like learning the basics. I like learning how I can play better, how I can outplay the enemies. Right now, as we said before, a lot of it boils down to, I'm going to farm my ult first. If I get my ult first, we win the game. Like, we just win the fight. That's it, right? So I don't like that gameplay loop too much. And I think people are also getting pissed.
Why are you playing it? Why are you saying it's good? Why are you saying we should keep playing this? Why have you been a proponent of this that has been exactly the same since launch? I don't understand. This was horribly boring a week into the game's launch. Why were there so many people standing with it? Just because it had a big player base and there's a lot of money there? Come on. Come on.
Stuff about that gameplay loop, and people to some extent want to change there, like at least a little bit, like change something, increase ultimate charge cost. I remember Overwatch back in the day. Also, I feel like was a complete stop fest, and that's why people enjoyed it. But over time, they kept reducing ultimate charges. They kept reducing how much you farm modes. They kept making more neutral, and I think
it's a heavy balance, right? It's a really interesting balance. I think the neutral in Overwatch is worse than it could be. I think the ultimate charge could be. I'm not saying it could be a little bit higher. It could be a little bit higher in 66 maybe, but it's about right.
we headed the same way, right?
But you have to balance it properly.
I still believe the game should remain casual. I don't think they should go the Overwatch route. Like it's never like, if they go the Overwatch route, I don't see why anyone would play Rivals over Overwatch. You know what I mean?
That's a very interesting statement. I'm gonna take it to Flats on that note of, do you think that Rivals and Overwatch, because again, to summarize, you guys are saying
There being no strategic depth is not a positive for players. People want stuff to learn. People want to be able to interact with the system for a long period of time and learn stuff about the system. If people are just stepping in and stepping out, and there is something to learn in order to get to a higher rank, they'll be more incentivized to play. Because at any particular rank, if you do have a skill curve, what's going to happen is you will be at the place that you are on the skill curve, because the system will put you there. So you don't have to learn these mechanics if you don't want to. You'll just be lower on the skill curve. I don't understand this. It's such a weird one. Yes, sure, the skill floor's slightly higher in Overwatch. Like, I agree, it should be lower. They should do things to make it lower. But at the same time, Rivals being inside the floor isn't healthy for the game.
here's Rivals, which is like casual, easy access, and easy dopamine hits. Overwatch punishing. You gave the League of Legends example. Overwatch punishing. Be prepared if you're new. You're gonna spend 6 months getting your ass slapped, and not in the fun way. But eventually it pays off, and it's like got the competitive integrity, right? Do you think they're gonna remain these discrete entities, or do you think that Rivals can and will start to like step into that space of like, okay, it's been long enough, we're gonna be a competitive game now?
Why would they?
That's a hard one, because I think Rivals is on a timer. I think every game is on a timer where when it releases, everyone has fun and it's amazing because nobody knows what they're doing, right? The way I look at this is like, I gave the example about the Nano Boost Winston earlier, but let me give you an example in Rivals. When Rivals came out, nobody I'm talking about launch. Now, like beta players kind of had an idea, but like
I would disagree that everyone doesn't know what they're doing. I would more think that because so many new players are in the game, nobody has any standards because they don't know what could be changed. And as the game develops, their understanding of what could be changed in order to make the game better develops. It doesn't mean that they're having a good time necessarily. It means that they don't know what they could be missing.
for example, Mag, right? Mag was thought of as a good tank, but they hadn't understood how to use his ult yet. By the end of season 1, it was common knowledge to always ult the cloak and dagger ult with your Mag and you will kill her. That was not common knowledge for the first month and a half of the game. It was common knowledge among high level players within like the first week or two, but then the content creators like kind of understood, but like we weren't like making TikTok guys. You gotta wait till like the TikTokers get it, right? That's always like a little while. Like those are like the celestial players, like with I guess GM at the time. They're always like a little bit behind, right? Because like if you're like a streamer or like a pro player or like really high level player, we were all putting out like either guides for the hero early on, or you were putting out gameplay, or you're just trying to get rank 1, right? Like we weren't really interested in like, here's a niche tip for Magneto and then make a TikTok of it, right? You gotta wait for the TikTokers, and those guys are just not as good, unfortunately. So like every game does this, where they get to a point where they become competitive, whether they like it or not. I think Rivals is resisting it with every fiber of their being. They are trying their best to resist it. And I'm not saying they're not competitive, period, but like on a scale of, say,
this is something I actually really covered with my Rivals review. It does not matter what you want. The flaws in your systems are always going to be found. They will always filter down to the low level audience. They will always become problems if there are flaws in your system that can either be exploited with a low risk, high reward strategy in terms of metas or in terms of hero interactions. Now, the question is, how long is it going to take before the average player knows these hero interactions? I don't think Overwatch has as much stuff that can be exploited than Rivals does. This is quote unquote good balance, but this is more importantly good design. Rivals has loads of problems in this, and as you say, like they just haven't designed it very well.
League or CS being maybe, or actually I don't even know if CS is a great example, but like maybe it is like the highest level of like, this is extremely competitive. Like we take this shit seriously. And Rivals is the low end where it's like, this is a competitive game, but it's a lot more friendly for you to get into. I think they want to stay on that lower end because most of Rivals players are, for all intents and purposes, kind of tourists, where they're going to pop in, play for a little bit, and then leave. Their player base is what I would call like the nomad player base, where they are probably right now went and tried Marathon, and either they liked it or didn't like it. I would argue most of them probably went and played Arc Raiders, actually. I would argue that when Arc Raiders went off, when Arc Raiders came out around the time Overwatch, or sorry, not Overwatch, Rivals had actually took a big dip in its player base. So like a lot of players that are just like, they travel along whatever's the most popular game at the moment.
Yeah, because them and their friends play that game. But if you end up in a situation where one of the friendship group doesn't want to play that game, they never go back to the game. And that one person that doesn't want to play the game is generally the one that's most frustrated with the bad systems in the game. So the actual ability to hold a player base for the long term tends to be relevant to how good the worst interactions are.
Was Rivals player base. And they came back for Deadpool, and they'll probably come back for future heroes as well. And they kind of look like they're cooking with like this upcoming Avengers event. I'm sure like at some point like Thanos might get added. That'll probably be a massive season.
But if one person doesn't want to play, they just won't play. They won't come back because this game is quite significantly group based. It's not a solo game. So these multiplayer game players that flip from thing to thing have to experience good gameplay. And sure, they will go away and come back, but they'll only come back if they experience something good while they were here. And things like jetpack cabbing in the game, for Overwatch in particular, and for Rivals in terms of every interaction in that game, they are a reason not to come back. You can't just shunt crap out into the void and expect people to always come back to you, because one bad experience from one person or one person hating the game massively destroys the chance of somebody coming back as a group. And
part of me wants to express almost in my own way, not like to you guys here, like not to anyone else. It's definitely gonna get taken that way, like, oh, you're just trying to stay in NetEase. Shut the fuck up. I have learned how good we have it with Rivals. Like they genuinely give a fuck They understand that they're in a fight. Like, they don't take it as like, oh, we're just here to do our own thing. SVD, you probably remember. Sam, you might remember. I don't know, Boger, if maybe you do too. I had an interview like 2 years ago on stream. It was from someone on the Overwatch team, in which I asked them, like, who do you guys view as your biggest competition? And they're like, nah, we don't have competition. And I was like, come on now, let's be for real here. Like you gotta have competition. Like, you have to understand.
Well, they didn't want to answer that because it's rude in the industry to answer that, and it's obviously rivals. And on the other side, Aaron has the motto of the Overwatch team: "Let's go make a good game." He cares about making a good game. Now, I think he doesn't succeed in certain places, but his idea is, if we build it, they will come. And he's changed that to, if they build it, they will come, and also we need to give them a reason to come back. But he doesn't consider whether Rivals is better, because in my opinion, and I think in most people's opinions, Rivals is just worse, because we're creating a good game.
From day one understood that they were in a fight with Overwatch and every other game. And I appreciate that. And they kind of take care of a lot of their creators. And not saying Overwatch doesn't, but Overwatch in a lot of ways is like a, you operate on like friends type of stuff. Rivals understands it's a business. Like, you're showing up, you're doing work for them. They pay you for it. Overwatch doesn't really do that. Unfortunately, I hate to say it's all my fellow Overwatch creators, but
Blizzard has always been less
like
giving.
Low key.
I think in World of Warcraft and onwards from then, kind of into like 2016, kind of maybe into 2019 kind of era, Overwatch and Blizzard in general have had the idea that content creators are parasites on their work, and they don't really deserve to have a say or have the audience that they can, and they also didn't consider them valuable in any way. But realistically, going from that to paying you to promote a product is one of the other, right? We've gone from no interaction whatsoever to, man, you really should chill for this. And yeah, like there's an in-group for Overwatch, 100%, like Amon says, right? There is a group that does get invited. Like, if you aren't part of the Overwatch clan, you're gonna be not outcasts, but they're just not going to talk to you because they don't want to, because they took the people they invite to Blizzard HQ, to be clear, are just the people they want to spend time with, right? They're just like, literally, they are inviting people to their offices in order to mostly just hang out and be positive about the game. And that makes perfect sense. I don't have a problem with that in any way, shape, or form. But as I said, it's not really a business sense, but how far do you want to go down that line in terms of business, between friendships where they want to hype up their game, they want to be proud of what they've made, and the opposite, which is they don't give a shit what they've made, they'll pay you to promote it though? Like, where do we want to be, right? It's not like either or better, in my opinion.
Kind of take advantage of the friend aspect, where like they make friends with you, and like, I'm not saying that they're not actually friends with you, like, they're nice people, they genuinely are, but like, at the end of the day, it's a business, and Rivals has always understood that. I've always appreciated that. They understood that in both ways. But also, like, that feedback system. I'm not even a Rivals partner. I'm not in their Discord. I'm not in any of their shit. I've chosen to not be a part of it because I wanted to be a step back and let them kind of do their own thing, because I felt like in Overwatch I had a lot of sway a lot of times, because I would ask questions publicly, privately, whatever it was. And the only times I've ever had to really say anything were like the Chrono Shields and the Rivals throwing thing recently. And like,
because you don't give a shit. We've already covered the gameplay's ass and you don't care. Like, we covered it. Like, we know what's happening. You just rather the gameplay was ass and it stayed as it is. So there's no problems.
I try to like take a little bit more of a step back than I used to, but like balance, for example, I always yap about that and do whatnot. And I've always appreciated the way Rivals kind of handles that. And I really kind of feel for them, because I don't know what their right decision is. Because you guys are all saying go more competitive. I think most people would resist that.
Not competitive. We want a gameplay loop. We don't want shit. We want you to give us something to learn and reward us for learning it. We don't want to. Sure, we want to rise the barrier to entry from literally 0 to a 1 on 1 to 100, but then we want to give you something to work towards.
I think the average Rivals player would resist that like crazy. I think that if you look at nighttime queues, it's always obviously the same group of 12 people just queuing all night long. Overwatch was the same way, but it wasn't 12. It was more like 100. I think the player base, especially at the highest level, is a lot less than you guys even think it is. Like,
I don't care about the high level. I've never cared about the high level. Every single time.
when I was playing like low Celestial, I'd see different people every game. Once
Making the game fun is just too competitive, pandering to pros. Well, that's the thing. Like, the gameplay loop is bad. We need to make the gameplay loop better. Oh, you just want the gameplay to be better so the people that play it for their job can enjoy it. No, I just want the gameplay to be better because it's bad.
to that attorney, it's legitimately the same 20 people all day
No,
long.
you don't have to
That's
tell me
it.
that.
Nothing else.
I agree with you.
You know that. Of course, you know that.
I know.
And
Especially in the EU, there's like 2 people. Like, we're besties.
yeah, and they don't like. I'm so real with you for half a second. They did a great job with their esport. Like they fucking dumped money into that, but it just wasn't great to watch because it's so hard. The bit rate of the stream literally can't keep up with how much shit's going on the screen. So everything is pixelated, and there's so many ultimates going off, which again we could talk about how, you know, like maybe there's too many ults, but like pro play, they'll build them bitches in 20 seconds. The average player maybe gets one around, right?
So increase the passive generation and reduce the reward from shooting. You can just fix this.
And so, like, if you look at like Overwatch gameplay a couple of years, like a year ago, when they changed a lot of ult charge stuff, is like, I forget it was like what season was it? Not season 9, the last refresh that they did. Like, you sometimes weren't building like on certain characters like Junker Queen. You could go a whole round without building an ult if it's like control, and that probably still happens for them. And so, I think for a more casual player base, they're not gonna have as much fun if they go a whole round without building an ultimate. But at the same time, though, right? Like, it's like.
It's always talking in extremes is the thing. Like, every single time you say, well, it could be a bit further this way. And he says, well, yeah, but if you build an ultimate tool, right? And yeah, like at high level, Overwatch can go around without building an ultimate. At low level, it doesn't happen though, because there's more trading at low level. Weirdly enough, when you actually make it so that trading matters and you can do something through spam and trading and just generally doing damage to the enemy team that gets healed up, more stuff happens. Changing the time to kill doesn't necessarily make things die more often. That's a weird one, isn't it? Ooh, that's a weird one. How does that work? Well, right, very obviously people act in different ways when they have different incentives. And you can't tell me, right, that people won't just build an ultimate if you just make it so that their healing and damage matters and isn't just spam.
You can't, it's not competitive fundamentally. So you'd have to change the whole game. Do they really want to change the whole game for the chance that people might enjoy a more casual or competitive version?
Not competitive.
I don't think they do.
I don't care about
I don't think that's the right call.
I don't care.
Also, they're on a timer. So at some point they're going to run out of gas. So it's like adapt or be left behind. But things are good right now, quote unquote, right? Like, you know, another season comes out, another hero comes out, things are going to be great for a little bit, then it'll die back down. Do you just ride that as long as you can? I don't know.
I mean, lots of great discussion points. I know both Boger and Sam want to chime in. I think Sam has been waiting a little bit longer, so I'm going to go to Sam first.
Waiting so long. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. First, I think you're right on everything that you said, except I agree with one notion, and this gets thrown out by everybody. And I disagree because I think we've boxed ourselves in here. I think you guys are right that Rivals is a more casual game, but when did we decide that creating more neutral in the game is only beneficial to a competitive audience, right?
There you go. Good old Sam.
I think there are plenty of casual players. A lot of my buddies from real life like try to get on the game and they played it for a bit, but they also noticed the lack of ability to play make because of how much sustain there is out there. I don't think it's fair to say that if they were to nerf, let's say ult duration, not ult build.
Sam seems way more sane this interview than usual. He's always been right about the things to change in Rivals. He's been saying this pretty consistently. Yeah, he wasn't challenging it, now he is. Good fucking job, Sam.
Right, but if ult duration got nerfed across the board as well, there's more, like, you actually have a reasonable chance to wait out an ult with your ult and then make a play, even if it's coming up faster, right? I would like to see them both nerf, but let's say that only one of those happens. I disagree with the premise that, and people on Twitter talk to me, like, and I've debated people extensively on Twitter. I like doing, I know that it's crazy to do that. I know it's crazy, but you never know. You might find a needle in a haystack, guys, right? You know, you shouldn't give up.
Have
you ever found that needle? I'm just curious.
Have you found the needle? Yeah. Have you found
Some say he's still looking.
What?
90% of Twitter users quit arguing just before they find the needle.
Right, yeah, that's true. Listen, it's like finding the One Piece. You can't quit, all right? It's out there. All right. And it literally is now. Apparently they put something out there in the ocean, but we don't need to talk about that right now. But I disagree with the notion that that only benefits competitive players because the way it would hurt casual players is if the skill floor and the ability to enter the game becomes higher than what it is before. But I don't think that's what would happen. I think you could still pick up Cloak and Dagger and still go through the same motions. I think you could
Exactly, because Cloak and Dagger is going to be sitting in the back line, spamming heal. They're just going to have more agency on their healing because their healing will start mattering as to where it goes, right? That's the difference. Jesus Christ, good fucking job.
still pick up Rocket Raccoon. And you guys are right. Rivals is definitely a much more casual game.
We're not saying turn off the healing. The Mercy players were still playing the video game in Overwatch previously.
To me, like they're both fruit, but one's an apple and one's an orange. And it's hard to, you can't 100% compare apples and oranges, but I disagree with the idea that nerfing ultimates somehow only makes the game better from a competitive standpoint when that stuffing of playmaking is happening to pretty much all players, unless, like they're dying to a Witch ult right in the open, but, they only see Witch down in low ranks, right? So that's the premise that I disagree with. I feel like we've just...
Playmaking doesn't have to be individual. You just need to feel like you're having an impact. Individual.
Maybe we don't need to argue that right now, but I'm worried that we've boxed ourselves into something where we've just said, we've all said this for years, like this is a competitive, like catered update, but I don't know if they're actually mutually exclusive. And I'm happy to talk about that if you guys disagree. But I would say that I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I think, Flats, you're right on your point. But I don't think
making the game more competitive, shifting everything up is bad. But all we're doing is we're, you know what? Yeah, so what we have here is we have rivals there. And we're like, let's make it like this, right? Let's make it so there's more skill scaling. And this is like a little bit higher, right? So instead of having that, instead we're going to have that. Right? So let's make the entry a tiny bit higher and make there a lot more you can do at the high level and make the skill to value scaling better.
It actually might fit into the grain better than we might think.
I've got nothing.
Okay, well, I'll just make a note of that point as well about like there's a sweet spot somewhere because I remember these discussions in Overwatch too.
Playmaking isn't always about solo plays. It's about making decisions that create impact to the game or fight. Yes. And playmaking is not about pressing Q and the enemy pressing Q and it not doing anything.
But I want to take it to Boger first. Boger, whether you want to chime in on just what Sam just said or what Flat said before, go ahead, either.
I think I was going to say that to add to my point, I don't disagree that the game should remain casual because I think that is the main audience. I think they are genuinely tourists. I think the main audience are absolute tourists. And I agree with Flats. And I never disagreed in the sense that I never want the game to become Overwatch. Okay. I never want the game to become game competitive. I think they don't care about top 500, and I think that's super valid because why would you care about one above all players, right? I think Rivals in itself is in a really interesting position where there's still a lot of nuances and playmaking in a macro play like scale in the game where you can still outmaneuver and outcounter compositions and abilities, and you see that in one above all and pro play as well. There's a lot of little tricks you can do. But that is not something you can do by yourself. It is always something you can do with your team, right? Like comboing Phoenix Mag, comboing, Groot Namor, comboing Cloak and Dagger Terror Cape. People have been doing that. That's why the character is getting banned right now. With any DPS to insta kill to support load. That is a really cool aspect of the game. I think the team play of the game is amazing. And I think, if anything, I feel like Overwatch doesn't have that much team play as Rivals. I feel like Rivals, the most fun aspect is the fact that you can play with your team. I think it's so amazing whenever
they remove the fun part of Overwatch.
I think it's so cool hitting even a Groot Namor, Cloak and Dagger damage boosting with her Terror Cape or any combo. It's amazing. And Overwatch, you're just running around and shooting, and you have a lot of neutral, and that's kind of hype because you do things by yourself. But it feels more of a, how do I say it? I feel like Rivals should remain casual. But you hit a point where the player base gets bored from doing the same thing over and over again. Even the tourists.
Is he gonna? He said a lot of words. Is he gonna agree with Sam or not?
Like 2 years in, 3 years in, they're gonna know everything, right? Like it's just gonna be annoying to do the same thing over and over again. And I agree. The game again should be completely casual and should be super easily available. I think characters like Rocket Raccoon and Cloak and Dagger should remain as easy as they are. Yeah. Right? I believe that all the...
But making it so that their healing is less impactful and therefore actually can do something if it's in the right place, because the characters can do more proportionally based on getting more resources if the enemy team don't have that amount of more resources. That gives them more skill scaling while at the same time keeping the gameplay loop exactly the same, and making it so that their ultimate isn't just a complete override without any timing to any ability does not make it so that they can't just stand in the back line and press the right click button and press ult. They just actually have a skill scaling of how they press that. It's not one or the other. You really can have both here. It's just the gameplay is bad. The gameplay is bad.
Easy characters should be easy because it allows people to play the game, provide value,
And just think about the things that Samito's asking for. Less power in the ultimates, less duration in the ultimates, potentially faster cooldown in the ultimates, less healing overall. How does that make it so that Rocket Raccoon can't stand in Narnia? Where does that come in? Like, what? You're still just as likely to win a team fight with your ultimate when it's shorter as when it's longer, because the enemy team also have shorter cooldowns. It's exactly the same. It's all been balanced unilaterally. We're all going to be fine. You just have more agency and more things to learn.
You know, have fun, and you don't have to be giga tryhard. But again, all of these people, at some point, when they come back in the future, and whenever they play the game again, and see that the gameplay loop is the exact same thing, and the same things are happening, and Luna ult is still 10 seconds, and you're still fighting triple support,
Damn right.
and there's ult
They
spam
won't come
everywhere,
back.
I think people are just going to get bored of it. And I think people are already getting bored of it. I think people are getting super exhausted.
It took them a lot longer than I
of
thought.
fighting the same support ults, fighting like sitting, like I think it's super exhausting when you level up your gameplay, but it doesn't really matter because there's this immortal ultimate on point and you just need to sit AFK. And I think that's just boring. And I think people have reached a point where they're like,
Of
I don't
course.
want to do this anymore. Like I'm tired. Like even
Somehow it took Boga over a year to get there, but at least he got there.
even I'm sure even the Rocket players are bored of it. I think like I just truly believe
Nah.
that I mean, how many Rocket one tricks have you seen? Even no damage Rocket. That guy, he
But
has
they're gonna
Lord
be
on like
doing
Loki and stuff.
the
Like he doesn't even
same.
play Rocket anymore. Everybody's fucking bored of playing Rocket, bro. But like my final point here is, as the game evolves and as the game grows, people are gonna grow and people are gonna know like more and more about the game. And I think the game needs to evolve with that. Like you don't need to make it giga competitive. You don't need to cater to top 500, but you need to change something. Be it ultimate durations, ultimate charge. I don't care. Add more neutral, reduce healing, triple support. When you pick triple support, there's a reduce healing overboard. I don't care. Just do something.
Yeah, and
so the
it shocks your shot collar when you pick it as well.
game has a different loop, like a little bit different loop. So it's not the same thing of me just sitting 6 people grouped up like it's the Spartans in a turtle formation just farming our cloak and dagger road. And then that's, and God forbid somebody takes an angle. If the enemy Hela takes an angle, it's GG, because your Hela is not taking the angle because she doesn't understand that concept. Like that's beyond them. So,
Disagree. The Hela only wins if they take an angle and there's no tension. Right? Sure, that is good to take an angle, but the angles had to be incredibly bursty with just your life bar because there's no support in those angles. Taking an angle is this gambit, right? And yeah, Hellas have to take an angle, don't get me wrong, like that's always going to be true because you can create more pressure and get more kills into the back line and cut through the healing in a better way by getting it into places where the enemy team aren't healing. But still, come on, it's just more interesting if you can cut through some of the healing when you're standing on main as well. That's just more interesting.
if the enemy Hela has some aim, takes the angle and hits 2 headshots, you die, right? And what are you gonna do? But like I'm just so tired of the same gameplay loop. 6 people holding hands, farming support. I have cloak and dagger. I'm ulting. I'm going in. Okay, we're sitting there and staring at each other for 12 seconds, right? Because they have cloak and dagger as well. And I think everybody's tired too.
Okay, I'll quickly take it to Sam, and then I want to shift the discussion. But Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like the rivals designs themselves have so much potential as well that is just being bottlenecked by that win con of the game where it's overarching. Like so many
Sure,
of these
yeah.
heroes are so cool and have so much to
Nothing about the game has room to breathe because it's been overridden by Luna dancing on point for 10 seconds. Like, that's just true. But then again, all the bad stuff in the game is covered up by it as well. So, like, you say they have potential. Yeah, they do. But if they reduce they'd have to actually fix that potential and make it actually matter. And I don't think they have the skill to do that, quite frankly.
them, but they
The
are
same way the Overwatch devs seem to not have the skill to be able to make 5 heroes in a row. Like, it's just too hard to do. It's actually just too hard to make 5 compelling heroes with good gameplay loops without making jank and without having it banned. It's too difficult.
Are very limited in what they can actually express right now. Like, I felt like, for just a quick example that I'll give is, like, take Iron Fist, for example, right? And I loved playing Iron Fist. Honestly, post his rework, though, it kind of turned me off the character because it was just punching tanks all game. And I liked going after squishies. I liked that hybrid playstyle that I used to be able to have. But say a support ults on point, SVB, like, if I was playing Overwatch, I could back off that ult for like 6 seconds. And if I save my ult, they wouldn't have enough time to get all of their cooldowns back before I went back in with my ult, and there would be like a 3-second window for me to make a play, regardless of what character I'm on. But that doesn't exist in Rivals. Like, it's all about like the right team up to kill through those ults, and if they nerf them by just a little bit, those team ups and combos are still really good, but you get a little bit.
It's tired of the gameplay loop because it's not a great gameplay loop. Some games remain fun with the same gameplay loop that never change. These loops are fun and have depth. 100%. No, agreed entirely.
More individual playmaking in that loop, and it completely blows it wide open. So that's what I would love to see. But I really do feel what Boger's saying there, and I hope because the characters are so cool.
I guess the summary is it's very easy to have an easy onboarding learning curve when you have no depth whatsoever. But it is possible to make that onboarding learning curve pretty much just as good while having depth in your game. And with more agency and everything else that comes with the extra depth.
I want to play more of them, but I just
agree.
can't. I can't
I
sit
think the
there.
characters are cool. I agree.
Okay,
Skyrim.
Well, that's good. We got
Skyrim.
like a rough
Size of an
consensus
ocean,
there, but
depth of a
we
paddling
spent a lot
pool.
of time talking about Rivals. I want to bring it to the Overwatch lens now as well. And Flats, I'm going to ask you about this one, which is that you've recently started playing Overwatch again yourself, and what do you think Overwatch is learning from watching Rivals do this? Because for so long we've been talking about how Rivals learned from Overwatch's mistakes, right? Like Rivals saw, oh yeah, Overwatch did that, the other, and they know not to do that.
Bollocks. Bollocks. They haven't learned shit from anything. They just made their own version and then amped healing and ultimate charge to such a ludicrous degree that it doesn't matter what they do.
But now watching this, like this potential stale gameplay loop, do you think
Maybe
a lot of
faster content schedule? Yeah, they've learned they have to jingle the keys to get the audience in at the expense of the average gameplay loop in the video game. Great. Hey.
what Overwatch is doing right now is with like, okay, let's not make that mistake again.
I think so. I think obviously the big ones are just like trying to lean back into their lore and give every season like a, what matters. I mean, you can see like they're trying to listen. Like that's probably the biggest thing. It's not the same as like old listening. Their old listening was like, we hear you. We're not doing shit.
The
about
hell?
it, though. Like that was like kind of the old way.
That's my favorite.
Now
Yeah.
now
be
it's
later.
kind of like we hear you.
Remind
we
me
might
later.
do something.
Are they forcing me to pay for security now? Can I go back a second? Flashbang me.
Listen, like that's probably the biggest thing. It's not the same as like old listening. Their old listening was like,
Oh,
we
this
hear
trend is
you.
out of date.
We're not doing shit about it though. Like that was like kind of the old way.
That's my favorite.
Now now it's kind of like we hear you. We might do something.
We
about
might
it.
do
And like they
something.
have. Yeah, and they do. Like for example, they dropped the 2. And they dropped it at a good time. They waited for a big update. They waited till they had a bunch of stuff fixed. And they gave a lot of people like a like I'm gonna give this a shot moment. And that I think actually
Agreed. That was a big thing from Overwatch. Really good.
not to be Steam
Great from
charts
Aaron.
handy, I think it's actually a very good sign looking at the Steam chart for Overwatch because I think most newer players are probably on Steam. Because if you think about it, I think most of the older players like myself are going to
That's a point, actually. Maybe Overwatch is, and not the way he said it, maybe that's a negative. Maybe the idea is that Overwatch's Battle.net growth won't be quite as good as their Steam growth, and this isn't as good as it looks. Because it looks incredible, don't get me wrong, like this is amazing. But if this is just Steam and this isn't reflected directly on Battle.net, which I doubt it is at all, to be honest. Who downloads Battle.net in order to play Overwatch? You know what, let's try. There you go. People are just clicking that, right? Nobody's downloading Battle.net. They're just going straight to Steam. Steam's new Battle.net's returning? Yes. Agreed. But I think the new players are going to be a lot bigger.
play on Battle.net because that's what you've always played on for years. If you
Aaron's given a presentation at GDC on how Team 4 turned Overwatch around. Yes. We won't get video of this until they release it in a year. Yeah, I think hopefully it's going to leak, right? Surely. I saw somewhere that there's some paid channels for it. Question mark. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to stream it or anything like that, but you're able to get information from it. But we know what he's going to say, right? He's going to say, right, first off, It was a horrible situation. We had to get rid of a couple of people, right? We had to downsize the team. Then we invested into projects, right? The devs were really struggling on not having anything to do, just making the same thing again and again. So what we did is we gave them projects, right? We said, go make Stadium, right? We'll release this as a unit. And then we set this schedule. We worked on the average gameplay loop. We said, these are the things wrong with the gameplay loop. Let's fix those. They made it so that tanks could be hated on less. And they improved the core gameplay, and then they did projects to put a year round. And then now they've just implemented a system of work where they can make content that can be released all at once in terms of a big hype moment. Basically, he came into an office that had no schedule whatsoever and was like, guys, what the fuck are we doing? Can we have a schedule, please? And then they started working to the schedule. It seems like that more than anything else.
Never played a whole lot of Overwatch before. What are you going to play on as a PC player? Steam, because Steam is the best platform and it's not even fucking close. So it's like, if I'm picking up any game, I always check to see if it's on Steam first. And if it's not on Steam, then I have to go figure something else out. So seeing that there's so many people playing on Steam probably means that's a lot of like either hasn't played in a very long time players or newer players that are playing on it as well. So like that's
Step one to every business decision is always layoffs. Well, he went through the merger. To be fair, that would have been absolutely harrowing for him to let off so many staff.
good sign that like there's people that have come back and are enjoying it, and then it's had staying power, which is a good sign. Now, I think that a lot of that has to do with there's a lot of unique new things to play. I think that the format itself gives you a lot. There's a bunch of things to play. You can play Stadium, you can play 6v6 open queue, and you can play 5v5. Like I think like a lot of like older players that came back probably are playing a little bit more of the 6v6, and I think that like when you get to the higher ranks, the queue times are really long. But I bet if I was to take a guess, I bet the like bronze through gold like older player base that just likes to play the old Ryan Zarias, I bet those queues are pretty damn quick most of the day. And then you have like the more competitive aspect, the more competitive players, like the new gen players that like
they are quick, but the queue quality is very bad for 6v6 open queue.
5 more that are just queuing all day long.
I wish they were slower.
And I think they've changed the gameplay loop a little bit with the new global passive, which opens up a lot more opportunities for like DPS to actually for everyone to have plays. Like it's the same for like shooting a tank. So if you don't know about this SVB, I'm not sure. But they implemented a new the DPS passive used to be like if you
It's on everyone. Yeah, I've been playing the last couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the fact that it's like 30% on everyone not being a tank is kind of huge because like you can put so much pressure just by shooting a squishy like twice, and it takes like double the amount of time for a support to heal them than it used to be. And so like you can get more kills, and it like actually opens up the fight more, and it has more impact, more individual impact, which is nice. Obviously, you still have the 5v5.
You can get more kills, and also you're incentivized to never do anything because if you take one bit of damage, you can potentially be killed. Yes, there are knock-on effects for every decision made. You can't just look at the first order effects.
That down aspects. I'm not trying to rile up Sam, but like,
we'll get
regardless, though, I think that there's a little bit of something for everybody. Like throughout the years of playing Overwatch, whether you want something brand new, you have Stadium. If you want something that's newer, that's still like somewhat fresh, you have the normal base game mode. And if you want the old stuff, that exists as well. The question is, though, what is Overwatch going to make any implementations of its own that jump forward? Because like one of my critiques or one of my complaints,
we just talked about the implementation that you thought jumped forward.
Of Spotlight was every year Overwatch comes out with something new, or not every year, but everyone like whenever Overwatch comes out with like a big thing, like a big update, there's something new, something that they've come up with. Whether it's they took an old idea and put a Blizzard spin on it, which admittedly kind of sucks sometimes, or like something in general they just like come up with new. There was nothing brand new.
Platz is worried that they're not jingling the keys well enough.
That wasn't like, oh, we took this system from someone else and implemented, or like, oh, we just implemented this old system that used to exist. And it's like, without having a person to follow, or maybe someone to look over and copy a little bit with Rivals, are they just gonna wait till Rivals comes up with something new?
What are you on about? They haven't copied anything from Rivals. What do you mean they're gonna look over the shoulder of Rivals to copy it and wait for Rivals to come up with something? What the fuck are you talking about? You said they've only made stuff themselves and they've already made their own innovations. What why, where'd this come from?
Implement it in their own way and make it better, or are they going to be able to implement their own things in the future that are like unique and interesting?
What the fuck are you talking about? We've only had hero bans.
Couldn't tell you, but I think that it's interesting that throughout the years of Overwatch's
If you ask
existence,
rival players, they'll say Domino's a ripoff of What's Her Name because she has a shield.
it's been its best when it has a competitor. Like weirdly enough, like 2016, 2018, like you had obviously
Domino's a ripoff of Emma because she steps on me. Yep, we got it.
to a TF2 rolling into it, and then like a little bit of Paladins. Like they actually took some of those aspects from those games over the years, and then those two obviously just kind of died, and it kind of fell off for a long time. And now you have Rivals, and it's like back again, good. It's like, wait a minute, why? They're always at their best when they have someone else to look at. So I hope that Rivals
Are
kind of
they?
like keeps
Or was that absolute trash that really hasn't stuck around?
implementing new things, because then Overwatch will get new things. But I'm not honestly sure. It's interesting because they're doing a good job of listening to their player base currently, but I do think they're still scared. I think they're too scared to like do big swings unless they've seen it work somewhere else first.
Oh, if you like the game, then you shouldn't want there to be big swings at the gameplay, right?
Would you consider Perks a big swing? I'd say Perks is probably the biggest one that I personally. I'm not trying to get quick on to clip this and get on Twitter. You know what I'm talking about, the Twitter Andes. But oh, there he goes. There he
Yep.
goes. But would you not say Perks were a big swing?
Were Perks a big swing? I think they were a pretty big swing. I mean, Stadium, even you can example, is a big swing, right? And it probably is actually a pretty decent swing. However, though, for Perks, I can't speak on, but Stadium they've been working on since like 2021. So they just had that in development for a very long time. Do they have anything like that for the future? I have no idea. But like, yeah, you got a good point. Perks is definitely a bit of a bigger.
Yeah, Perks is a huge swing. I don't know what Flats is talking about, genuinely. Oh, they've always had big swings, but they haven't had many recently. So I really hope they have stuff in future and something about copying Rivals. Well, yeah, they didn't have a big swing. They just had heroes. Like I think people commented on that. It's a fair statement to say that it was just heroes and no big swing, and maybe that's going to get boring fast. But it's been more successful. So what are you talking about? They need a bigger swing than the most successful relaunch in Overwatch history. Like, come on, man. Like, okay, sure. They need more, do they? Or do they just need to keep doing what they're doing, right?
Swing. Although the longer they've been around, I feel like the less they really matter. Because
The game started feeling different is when they did Season 9. Yeah, Season 9 was a big swing. Nobody's ever done something like Season 9 before. And it didn't have a major impact, but like it did save us from the clutches of Malga, which I guess we can be thankful for.
always a correct answer on what to pick. There's very few times where it's not like, oh, this niche matchup, I'll do this perk or I'll do this perk, right? It's like every time you load in, you just pick these two perks. So it's like it's just an advanced version of balancing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can actually chime in on this one, which is that like I thought Perks would be a bigger swing than they were. Like going in, revisiting it, I was like, okay, in the game, this is gonna be cool. But most of the time when I'm playing, any hero, it's just like here's a 10% increase, which is again, it's so marginal that like who's noticing it, or it's like some like there's also a lot of like alt niche ones which are like either this makes the alt really strong, or it's like why am I taking this to be effective once every 2 minutes? Like wow, my like this is like when I'm Winston ulting, I can like jump pack people and it's like okay, yeah, but if I suck and I never build a primal rage, then like what is this even worth? So it's like they feel great in conception, but not necessarily. Also, I think that there's just like a little bit of jank to them. There's no way to really know what other people are doing with their perks without like stopping to like read the scoreboard and be like, okay, he took that icon, so like now the Doomfist is gonna absorb the Ana sleep dart for the first second. I don't think it actually has a big swing impact on the game. Like when I come back as a player, I'm not like, wow, perks have really perked me up. Sorry about that. I don't really feel like a big shift. I wanna give Boger a chance to say something, and then I'm going to ask Sam a question.
I think SCB is articulating the general balance problem with method progression within the game, rather than talking about how perks have altered the gameplay on a fundamental level. So can't read perks off the scoreboard. I like perks, I'll admit I prefer the first batch where there are smaller shifts. I think that if perks had a in-game visual, I would have much less of a problem with them. The fact that they have no in-game visual to tell you that they exist, that's problematic in my mind, and I can't really get past that as an idea. Yeah, I think perks are a big shakeup, and I don't know why Flats is like, oh, they need more. I mean, it's working. It's clearly working.
Question, because I know we've gone from rage baiting comments to rage baiting our fellow podcasters, so I'll tee Sam up.
And you know what the thing is? I'm actually really happy they released the 5 heroes, right? Because if anyone thinks the gameplay is good, releasing heroes is surely the most healthy way to change the gameplay and shake up the game at the same time, right? Surely that's got to be the most healthy way.
But I want to I want to take it to Boger first, which is just that like we've talked a lot about rivals and like what they need to potentially do. Where does Overwatch go now? Like, what is Overwatch's in your mind? What is the right path?
For Overwatch, my experience with Overwatch has always been they take a good step forward and then they take like 5 steps backwards. So I'm afraid they're going to do the same thing again, right? So
When?
I think Overwatch has been doing really well. I
When?
think the way I see it, they've added a lot of systems, they've added stadium perks, whatever, but it never was a big shakeup. But now that they actually came out with this new big patch and changed up the game quite a bit and released 5 new heroes, I feel like now going into the game after the year or two where they added a bunch of mechanics and a bunch of changes and a
Okay.
bunch of modes, I think it really made the game feel fresh because I didn't come back really.
Mechanics, changes, and a bunch of modes. So there's no modes, so bollocks, there isn't, because Stadium's not really something you can play, especially not with the new heroes. New mechanics, sure, like there are new mechanics, like agreed, but for the most part, we don't want to interact with the new mechanics because we banned them. Very weird.
For perks, right? I didn't come back and grind because, as you said, it didn't really feel that crazy. You just have one perk that is like you do 2 more damage, and the other perk is like
Elena.
you sent off a nuclear bomb on the enemy team. And like I'm gonna pick the nuclear bomb, right? Like it's pretty obvious which one I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I think you've gotten it. I think that Juno's minor perks are a good choice, and that's reasonable, right? 2 different buffs for the same thing. Actually having to be able to adapt and make choices and depends on your playstyle. I like playstyle adaptation perks in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, perks always have the problem that if I want them in the kit, I want them in the kit. And if they're not in the kit when I unlock them, or when I start the game, then why aren't they in the kit to begin with? It just should be in the base kit. It makes no sense whatsoever to lock them behind 2/3 of the game play session.
System stadium perks, passives, whatever roles. They added a bunch of sub roles. All of it together for this new season, dropping the 2, adding the new heroes. I think it's just the game feels really fresh and feels really fun because I feel like they've been building up to this in a way. Maybe thinking too much into it, but for the future, the question really stands: are they gonna fix the things people are still complaining about? Like because one of my biggest gripes playing the game, I got to GM super easily back in Overwatch. Like I went on a 20 game winning streak. I got to GM. Got to GM,
Sure.
same fucking meta as before. Same things played as before. It's this Diva, OP, Zarya OP, Sojourn OP, Lucio, Kiriko is the same fucking shit over and over
Fab.
again.
Yep.
So I'm kind of tired of seeing the same characters being played. I'm kind of tired from...
But
you know,
if the game cannot exist in a way that Mercy is good, that character's just not in the game. Like, do you want Ashe to really be meta? Do you want Poke to really be meta? Do you want non-speed to really be meta? I don't think anyone does. So what we're doing, we're just complaining about the diversity of heroes in the game at a certain point because nobody seems to want to not play with speed. Mercy just exists to make Hitscan and Pharah unbalanceable. I don't give a fuck. Well, the trouble is more that Mercy in their current state exists to make Hitscan and Pharah insecure in the backline rather than make them awkward to play around, right? I feel like Pharmacy is much harder to deal with nowadays than it was previously because you can't interact with the Mercy in any way because the Mercy's got infinite movement.
we talked about the ban system. I don't know if you guys know how the ban system looks in pro play. I feel like Overwatch has genuinely there's a lot of potential with the pro scene. There's finally we have some players that people talk about, know about. People, like they're fans of these players. Like we haven't had that since Overwatch League. They're fans. Like there's genuine fans of the game, of these players, and they follow them. But the pro scene just sucks. Like in the sense that, do you know how bans work in the pro scene? They have 1 ban per team, and they can't repeat the bans next game. Like it is insanity because the game has like 50 characters.
But the devs have no incentive to ever change that because they're not going to change the way that the bans. They're not going to change the characters based off the fact that in low rank play and mid rank play you can ban as many as you want to a ludicrous degree. And like we're talking about the high rank bans and a lack of diversity. There's only a lack of diversity because 5v5 is such a flat game mode, so you can't have any diversity in it because the character that's at the correct range in terms of the tank role on a map chooses the comp that you play. It's just, I don't know.
And you can, like, for example, ban Tracer this game, they're gonna ban Zarya. Next game you can't ban Zarya or Tracer. And it's like, why? Right? And compared to Rivals, where
It's weird that Boga's complaining about not the Overwatch enforced high level system. He's complaining that the system that the pros chose for themselves is a really weird one there, because surely people must disagree with it. Surely people must want to mirror bans and to, sorry, not mirror bans, not be able to ban the same character twice in a row. Surely that must be what people are asking for, because that's what the system everyone has settled on.
you can ban
The trouble is more in high rank ladder when you don't have enough bans for the things you want.
4 characters on the, you can ban 4 characters, 4 for the enemy, and the enemy can ban 4, and then there's 2 protects. I feel like if they invest a bit more in the pro scene,
He's right that as a spectator, it's garbage. No, agreed that it's pretty garbage as a spectator. I think there should be more diversity in the types of things. The trouble is Overwatch has chosen angular dueling as the only thing that really matters in the game, and they're reluctant to ever make Kerry worse, because Kerry's the poster child of the money-making machine in the game, and also Lucio's been the darling child of Overwatch for ages, and they haven't made a relevant speeder aside from them, right? It's just literally Juno, and like, you're not going to play Juno over Lucio, are you? Because Juno has less angular pressure, less ability to duel. And they tried to make Juno better by making them be able to headshot, but I mean, we've chosen angular dueling, so you're never going to choose Juno to angular duel. Yeah, 10 more years, Morty. 10 more years. Lucio Kiri, 10 more years. The trouble is, Blizzard chose a really flat mode of gameplay as their competitive gameplay, and when people play it, they want to play that mode of gameplay in the best version of itself, which turns out to be the same fucking characters every game, because that is just what it is. Because Sojourn has the best access to space and the best ability to pull from space. Kiri has exactly the same, and Lucio has exactly the same, right? What does 6v6 actually solve almost everything? Because 5v5 introduced a ridiculous amount of problems, and then they spent years trying to fix the problems individually one at a time. That's what's happened. I mean, yeah.
make it a little bit more fun to watch. I think there's a lot of potential. I think they should keep up releasing new characters. They said there's going to be like 10 total, 5 more this year. I don't remember, right? And if they address some of the balancing and finally, you know, deal with these characters that have been like genuinely infesting rank that I've been seeing nonstop for 2 years.
They're infesting rank because people actually want to play these characters. In terms of the high-level complaints about Kiri Lucio, they actually want to play Kiri Lucio because it gives some stability to their team comps.
That would be good, right? But I think they're on the right track. I really hope they do keep listening to community to some extent, and they keep implementing things people want.
Okay, Sam, is something you want to respond right now on this?
Yeah,
'Cause
just,
I've got
just
other
to give
things.
an alley-oop. Listen, Blizzard, Boger used the word invest. It doesn't have to be money. You can just add more bands. We know it's only
Bro,
a loaf of bread, but like it's actually easy. It doesn't have to be money. Give
I
us some
watched
The pros chose not to have bans for their tournaments. The game only needs more bans if you make the game shit to begin with.
I watched the scrims they did in Korea, and I was like, bro, they're just playing the same comp every game.
Yeah.
Like they just play.
That's what pro players want to do. You have to force them out of it. They like doing this. They don't like having to flex continuously. They like playing Kiri Lucio, and if they can't play Kiri Lucio, they'll play the next best side grade.
It's so boring, right?
Yeah, so force them with more bans. They chose it themselves. They like this. They chose it.
And I had to talk with chat, and I had to talk with some other people, and they explained to me how the bans work. I was like, are you serious? One
There's no-
ban
yeah.
per team? There's more characters in Overwatch right now than in Rivals. Like because of the 5 new characters they added.
Yeah, admittedly, less of Overwatch's characters are absolute arse and need to be removed from the video game permanently, but you know, they do need to be forced out of it. That they pro players shouldn't get rights. Yeah, fair enough. The ban system is literally fine. Don't let Rivals' brain infect you. 100% agreed entirely. The ban system is absolutely fine. It enforces a bit of diversity while allowing the teams to be able to play the things they want to play. Right? Enforcing a bit of diversity is absolutely fine. I 100% agree that should be a thing in pro play. Do we need more bans in ranked? Maybe, but it's only because you release like 5 shit heroes.
And Rivals has way more bans in pro play, and it's genuinely insane to me.
Bans hurt teams that play off meta. Pros just ban those off meta heroes. Well, don't I fucking know it, Ammon? Ammon, have you been following my votes team? I can't play a game on my love team comp. I can't play a single game on it. We're having to come up with a side grade to it. We're having to come up with a different team comp because I'm not allowed to, because they'll either ban Vendetta, Diva, Zarya, Lucio, Brig, or or Anna. By the way, we are rocking it. We're doing so well. We've won one, lost one, and they forfeited one. So we're positive, net positive, baby.
Yeah, that's an easy upgrade. I think
Easy.
low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, time to Flats. You got anything else you want to add, or can I move the discussion?
It's funny. I actually talked about that too when I was watching stuff, and Avril popped in my chat and was like, basically like against it. Was like, no, because I was like, you guys should look at the Rivals version because it basically forces non-mirror matchups. And it was like, well, Overwatch is a more purist game. It's like, well, you don't want to lose the match just on the ban screen. I'm like, well, I mean, I think there's a skill there too. Like, you ban out certain characters on each map. It's like it's gonna make it more enjoyable. And like, realistically, the way I look at all of this is the same way I look at content. The most important experience is the viewer. Like, does the viewer enjoy it? Because without them, you have nothing. Like, they're not like you
Agreed.
can be the most amazing Tracer player.
But that's
in
how
the
the
world,
tournaments
nobody
work
wanna
out
watch, then you
themselves.
don't have a career.
You're
You have
complaining
nothing.
about how the
Like
tournaments
you're just good at
organized.
Tracer and you can play on the ladder or do whatever. But like, without like people watching the scene and like supporting the scene, showing up every day, like that's it. Like without it, like
The
it
Rivals
wouldn't- it might
in-game
not
team
ever
system
exist.
is nice. Yeah, 100% it is nice. Sad we can't copy that.
Yes, so like you should try to make it so that it's
Gavin!
enjoyable for them, and then also like you're a pro player. Come on, you can overcome the challenge of maybe you're at a slight disadvantage for a map because you're on bans, or you know what, you get good at bans and now you have an advantage. And it's like you could be a better team just because you're really fucking good at your ban phases. Like there's another depth element to the game that could be added, but like I guess the argument back was like you ruin a lot of like the potential of like you could just lose the map because you can't swap Widow and they have a Widow and you just can't
Just
win the
be more
1v1. It's like
flexible.
just GG. Yeah, well, I mean like it's like not even like let's say there's a map where it's like Widow's just so dominant right now. Without a Widow, you just lose the game.
Just
like,
that
pick up a
insta ban
spawn room.
Widow. Insta ban
Exactly.
Widow.
That's how I
Like,
looked at
there's-
it too.
I
but
do
it's
that
like,
every game.
Yeah.
yeah, but
think-
that's the argument back, and I don't know. I didn't really totally like that, but it is what it is.
I just think it's cool. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, and
their in-game ban system is good enough. Like I love that.
The
system.
classic, we've buffed Widow, so Widow is now really OP on the map she's good on, and still shit on the map she's bad on. And if you're on a map that she's good on, better ban her, otherwise you get a terrible experience. Yeah.
Sorry, you go ahead, SVB.
No, I was just gonna say, obviously, I don't want to be unfair to someone like Avril because to argue against an argument with someone not being there to give their point is potentially unfair. But I will say that I think in general, and this goes back to the point I was making earlier about like how eventually now Overwatch does have bans when first of all that was a thing we resisted for a long time. I think people gravitate towards what they would lose rather than what they would gain from a system, right? You could call that loss aversion, but people are more fixated on like, well, but if we do this, then there'll be some game where you lose in the draft phase. Okay, 1 in 10 games lost in the draft phase. But in return, you eliminate, for example, the same comps being played every time. And how much of a much more exponential win is that compared to, okay, well, 1 out of 10 games, yeah, okay, that sucked. Everybody was unhappy that this team lost. But even then, you can put that down to like, well, the coach should be better. Like that was bad coaching.
I don't really
the
care
guy
that much about this.
who's
I'll be
selecting the
honest.
bans fucked
Yeah,
up.
Spylo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Spyro.
Spyle, what are you doing? The thing to add to it, I think it's really cool to watch people play their niche heroes in Overwatch because I think Overwatch has a lot of really cool characters now. And I think
That don't see play because the game's entirely about angles. And so, like, characters that aren't the best at doing that just don't see play. Like, it's so boring, man.
by having one ban only, you just don't allow people to shine and play their little characters and pop off and do their thing because
Well, you also don't allow a team to be able to practice niche strategies. Like, you don't see a Bastion comp very often because it requires practice. Because, like, when are you going to be able to practice Bastion? You're going to be scrimming it for a third of your time, and then you're going to turn up to the tournament, your Bastion's going to get banned, and you're going to be like, oh, shit. Like, come on.
there's such a disparity between the value you can get on certain characters compared to like the most meta characters. And I've been watching recently some videos about old League of Legends esports, at least in the beginning. The amount of hype people experience, like the audience would go crazy when the bans would allow for this pro to play his favorite hero because that's his thing. And
That's just because League of Legends balancing has been absolute ass as well, to be honest. Like, we only need the bans because the balancing's so fucking shit that you can't play anything else other than the hard meta, and you get punished really hard for playing off meta.
Nobody goes crazy seeing Tracer again. Nobody goes crazy because they see Diva again. Nobody goes crazy because they see Lucio Kiriko again. People would go crazy if somebody, whipped out
Go, give me an example.
Bastion or whipped out like I don't know what's niche or not. Like Lifeweaver, like people
don't go crazy for Lifeweaver. They sigh and they're like, this is gonna be ass.
like, oh my god, Rocket Attack goes on Lifeweaver because they banned 6 supports. Hype. And I agree with Flats on the sense that it's cool to have the game be purist and stuff, but that's only cool maybe for the top echelon of the game. I think Overwatch should definitely invest to make the game more enjoyable from a casual perspective, because that's what matters. You do need to have people watch your game. You do need people to enjoy watching your game, because honestly, with these Korean scrims,
really
I had fun the first match.
Game.
Then the second match,
the devs can't really hold this.
It
So
was the same thing I've been watching for 2 years now, and I'm like, brother, we just had 5 new heroes, and I'm losing it.
Can I make them mad really quick? Because someone's gonna say it, and I might as well get ahead of the game. Because you know what's gonna happen, right? And someone's gonna respond that like, well, they don't need your shitty ass streamer advice, you dumb fucks. They got 100,000 viewers last time they streamed. Yeah, because it's inflated by drops, you dumb bastards. Like, it's all drops. Like, so dude, remember when that was the last cycle of like Overwatch was 200,000 viewers, Rivals was 200,000 viewers. Like, oh my god, everyone's winning. Realistically, it was hashtag ad for Rivals. And
sure,
Overwatch
like, I don't really care. I don't think Overwatch has a hero count like League to have that sort of experience very often, even in those cases. Yeah, I think there's just not enough heroes, and there's not enough niche heroes. The trouble is that quite a lot of the Overwatch heroes are just side grades of the same concept. It's not like there's this weird, crazy thing that we can put in. Well, we can't put it in because the design space is kind of limited nowadays. Like, I'm still going back. Like, we could very literally have an RTS style hero that calls in bots in order to do their work for them, right? We could have it as a tank that calls in a hero. We could have an Ashe that uses the Bob as a tank instead of like they could be a tank hero, but the Bob is their tank. They throw the Bob in order to do the tanking, right? Like, we could have these hybrid characters and these fun, like, weird characters. Can't have that shit in 5v5. Just does not work. Right, it'll only work in 6v6, and that's the easiest explanation. And maybe they're bad ideas, right? Maybe they're bad ideas that would need tuning back and need sorting out, and a lot of finicking to make them work. But they would work in 6v6, and there's no way at all they work in 5v5 with the restrictions on the design space that mode has.
Drops. It's not fucking real. It's literally all smoke and mirrors. Like, people are there to either they're following their communities, and big streamers are showing.
Where's Greed? Greed has a short attention span. He's Scottish.
Going up and playing.
Brain addled by Red Bull.
The game for Rivals that don't normally play it, like Tim and Peanut were playing, or you have an Overwatch where you have 30,000 people that are AFKing for their skins and loot boxes. They're all people that play the game. It's not real fucking viewership numbers. Like, they're there, they're people, but they're not really there. Like, they're just showing up for their free stuff. And the reason why Rivals Esport has so many viewers is because
did I not say Iron Brew? What did I say? Did I say Red Bull by accident? Oopsie.
It's out. I think the last one was 14 skins and like a gifted sum event skin. So like it was like 50.
A few people have made that comment on this YouTube video. No, they haven't. Bullshit. There's Abby. A Ralph Spyro type creator was heavily missed this episode, but welcome back, SVP. Who are these people? I don't even know these people. Oh, based. These aren't even viewers. What's happening here? Getting top mention there. Oh, that's nice of them. Beastman Rage. Oh yeah, there are a few replicants here.
We have 14 skins just by watching for like a couple hours. So like, honestly, I'd love to see Rivals do that. Rivals should just lean in and just come out with like a pro series of skins and just fucking drop.
Wait, who did the skins? Who did the?
Keep harassing him, guys. It's working, I'm sure.
Skins. Did you say Rivals did the skins or Overwatch?
No, Overwatch.
That's crazy.
You would watch like
the
one
finals,
skin
there was
an hour.
14 sets of skins. There were 14.
How many Mercy skins?
No, I think it was like home and away for like.
Can we talk about something important,
heroes,
please?
and then there was like a special.
What's your damn bookmarks, SDB? I know it's been released like 8 hours ago, but I don't know how many.
Oh, did I say Rivals the first time? I might have said Rivals the first time.
No, I just
did it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, okay.
Overwatch, they were just like throwing all of them out, and like I think some of them were even older ones as well. Sprays, name cards, like there was legitimately like 40 fucking rewards by the last day because they did it over like the span of a week, and then like day 1 you only get 1 skin, day 2 you can get 2 skins, but you get 1 new one and the previous day, right? So like if you're watching the last few matches, like by the finals, you're getting new rewards and all the old rewards. So people just showed up for the finals, and there was tons of people watching, but like it's not real. So
I
like
don't want to skip because I haven't skipped at all yet.
so before someone goes ahead of the game and goes, oh, they're doing fine without you, shut the fuck up. It's not real.
Yeah,
And the same thing is about Rivals, by the way. That's not. I'm saying the same exact thing about Rivals. When you see Rivals at 200,000 viewers at the beginning of the season,
They're both
there's a lot of
inflated.
hashtag ad.
No, it's
There's
all
some
real.
drops.
All
It's
real.
not real. It's
All
not
real.
real.
It's real.
You just ruined stand-up for him, Flash.
Yeah, he said about Rivals having esports jobs too. I think he's just saying that viewership numbers don't matter. He just randomly took over to go on a tirade about how the numbers aren't the same
Oh my God.
as what they
Billy,
look.
you gotta-
Honestly, if Rivals wanted to dominate the Twitch scene, they just put out the same skins Overwatch does, or like drops. I guarantee it. I bet you would see every season launches at like 200,000 viewers because people would be showing up for those farm skins every time. But the drops for
It's so
Rivals just
funny that the amount of people that have farmed for skins is actually more than the people in the game.
blow. So
No,
People are so fucking frothing at the mouth for these skins. It's insane to me. They're like people showing up for drops that are never going to touch this video game. It's so weird.
you don't like purple
Anyways, that's Twitch
reskin of
numbers.
Invis, purple reskin of Human Torch.
the purple skin for
reskin
Invis was the
that.
second best one they've ever done. Is that scary? That's legitimately the second best drop they've ever done. Dude, I think everyone was at like 10K plus viewers for that. I'm not
I
joking.
get depressed if I miss a loot box. Go to a therapist. It's cheaper.
Which is like,
let's-
imagine if it was a good one.
let's bring it back on track. I mean, to your point, I think there's something pretty pyramid schemy about all of that, and I don't want to be the guy who's to like everyone's gonna be like, oh, this guy's ruining the fun. But yeah, I'm a bit like generally.
Every game does it now. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels really wrong. Like it feels like we're doing like a financial market crash, like inflating everybody's numbers. Because like at what point do advertisers realize like, yeah, nobody's fucking watching this shit, bro. I'm paying like twice the money for my ads.
You would be very surprised.
Genuinely.
Actually, there is conversations about that with like a lot of the biggest streamers, because like, we're getting into that later. That's a
Yeah,
different
no,
episode.
Yeah, there are
there's
conversations
something
about
like stupid. Like, it's a very short-termism. And
There's a lot
I'm
of
not gonna go into
viewbotting as well.
larger philosophical point of like fake pumping your numbers to like make money, and then anyways.
No,
Let's
it's
go back-
also to be perceived as a bigger streamer, because if you don't pump your numbers, you aren't the biggest person in the space, you actually lose out on a significant amount of numbers just because people filter up the ladder into the biggest people in the spaces. That's just how it works on Twitch.
Back on topics. I promised I would rage bait Sam, and I haven't yet. So
Okay,
I'm
here we
gonna
go,
bring
here
it
we
back
go.
that way. I was actually gonna say on the perks discussion to sort of set it up in a not just straight up hit him in the head with a bat. One interesting thing would have been more depth to perks would have been if it was in open queue format. Perks would make more sense because you could have perks that lean a character more towards like one role or the other, right? So that's actually something, and here's my bingo card, that's actually something that's relevant in Dota, which is that like you have facets at the start of the game, and you get to pick between two, and usually the two facets.
Yeah, so we tried this in our FSJQS mode. We tried cores, which is the same as a facet system. So the facet system is essentially what it does, it adapts you more toward a role in the game. So it can be like you become a little bit faster, and you can farm the minions a bit faster, so you can do a bit more jungling, if you get what I mean. So you have some adaptation, so you can play the character in different ways. We did it in Overwatch. What we did was we gave some of the characters like Reinhardt a little bit more mobility. We gave Diva the ability to cleave with the boosters and that do more damage while taken away from the single target. We gave Hazard the ability to be able to AoE more and be able to initiate more, or to be more single target, all of these type of things, right? It's basically initiation versus off tank versus poking, and that kind of like trifecta, because off tanks tend to not work with off tanks. Zarya Diva is just a bad comp. Poking tanks tend to not work with off tanks. Orisa Zarya is a bad comp, right? And that's just because if you don't have initiation, your comp really doesn't function in an aggressive way, right? If you have space to take and you don't have a big impulse to take that space away from the enemy team, then realistically you struggle. So we gave more characters initiation. Now the trouble is, you don't really need that for the majority of characters. It's specifically tanks that you need that on, and it's specifically tanks in order to avoid the 1/10 of situations where you're able to get a bad composition if you randomly select ones. Most of the work had already been done by making most characters in Overwatch as a tank more initiaty over time, which they have just become. Like Junker Queen, like Mauga, like New Orisa, all of them a little bit more initiated than they were previously. And by making it so that the off tanks, we still have the problem with the off tanks, don't get me wrong, but the off tanks has a little bit more initiation capability on their own without having to give the resources to somebody else. So that's what we did. It worked. But it was one of those where, I mean, it's a lot more complicated. It was slowing down the code. It was a lot of code length, so we cut it. I think it's reasonable as a point, but at the same time, you don't really need this in order for the gameplay to flow.
Are leaning towards one role or the other for a hero, right? Because in obviously Dota, there's
Custom
no
code isn't playable anymore, right? Yes, we have moonlighted the custom code for the reason that Didact is currently running the Lunar Colony 6v6 tournament just here. If anyone wants to join, exclamation mark. Where do I go for the intro page? Browse channels, whatever. Anyway, Lunar Colony. Which I am currently competing in with my votes team, with Greed. Me, Greed, and then 4 randoms are competing in a 6v6 tournament. I'm going to make a video on it. It's so much fun. I'm having so much fun with it.
like strict role. Like a hero does not necessarily play into one role. Like they could be your carry, like your DPS, or they could also be like a tank, or they could be a support potentially. And the facet you pick would lean into like, okay, well, I want to play this game. I want to play support Reinhardt. So I'm going to pick the facet that actually allows me to like heal my team.
My resistance to that is obviously that you just should realistically pick the character you want to for the facet, right? There's just characters that do different things, and we probably filled out the design space. There should be more than one that do the same type of thing so that you have some choice within that archetype. But yeah.
So potentially OpenQ would have been an interesting way of doing that, like to make perks more relevant. Is like, okay, here's a brig perk that actually makes her more tanky, and here's one that makes her more supporty. To Sam now, I asked the question, which is that we've seen loads of different formats now, right? We've seen Rivals have its 6v6 open queue. We've seen Overwatch
In these
have
games,
6v6
you're set up with the facets locked at the beginning of each round game, and people swap up the comp mid-game. You could swap up the comp, but they had clear visual tells that you were on the facet. So, for instance, we had Zarya, before they even implement it, because Blizzard copy everything we do, we had the cleaving beam on her, so she could do a little bit more initiation, a little bit more shooting past the enemy tank in order to be able to generally take some of those resources herself. So we had that as an option, right? And that was clearly indicated on the character that they had been selected. And you could select between them, between rounds. Honestly, it was a system that didn't need to be in. Hello, gorgeous. How's it been so far? They've been rage baiting me for the most part. Really rough start, a lot of incorrect stuff that I had to school them on. But you know me, I'm just a yap monster. What are we, hour and 11 minutes in? We've been going for double that amount of time easily. So, you know, what have they gotten wrong out of curiosity? I beg. Well, Sam's the only one that's making sense with the whole Rivals conversation of the scale back the ultimate, scale back or scale up the amount of ultimate charge you get so you can get them a little bit more often, scale down the healing, right? That thing. And Flats and Boga are basically saying we can't ruin the low level skill of the entry to the game. And my argument, and I think Sam's too, is that there's no need to lower the low level skill or raise the low level skill in order to put improvements to the core gameplay loop. Right, we can just make it so that Rivals has a neutral gameplay loop, and at the same time make it so that you have these people that can just sit at the back of the map and shoot. Because I'll be honest, Rocket Raccoon is still going to be holding the right click from 15 million miles away, and then using a Zoltan cooldown regardless. Right, it's reducing the quality of the ultimates and then reducing the amount of healing just makes it so that it matters where the healing goes. So there is some skill scaling to the things you're doing. And I think Boga and Flats didn't really get that. They're very much let the game be casual in a way. And I'm like, it's not a competitive change. It's a change that affects every single person at every single rank in a positive way. The ult game being super fast isn't necessary to the skill floor. What's necessary is simply the single target healing. Sure, yeah. And it's one of those where, like, from my opinion, I think 5v5 is unappealing to low rank support players in a general sense because, and we all know this, it's got more space in general for DPS to be able to flank, so people are coming at you from the left and the right a little bit more often. I think that's less appealing to the very low level support players. But yeah, I don't think Overwatch has got it right, so that Overwatch is at the right level for the onboarding learning curve in my mind, because obviously I disagree with what they're currently doing. And I don't think Rivals has got it right too, because you can add depth to the Rivals system without giving up on anything, basically. Weaker ult game doesn't make it harder. Yeah, agreed. But aside from that, a lot of talk about hero bans and how hero bans are the savior of the world. You know my opinions, we already talked about that. Anything else really? I don't know. I think the trouble is, like a lot of these people aren't really like committed to the game and the gameplay loop. It's very much a god, I'm so glad they're moving fast, I'm so glad they're moving fast. And the counter argument to that is, well, they released 6 heroes in the last 6 months and I can only play 3 of them because all the rest are banned, right? And I'm like, Flats and Boga are abysm, and I know it, but it's still, it's so annoying to hear, man, Overwatch is doing great, and yes, it was important to release those heroes, I'm so glad they did, but holy shit, are we dropping in quality? Why are half of them banned? It's not just because they're new heroes and we don't like the new heroes. It's because Vendetta's overpowered, and if you made her weaker, she'd be awful to play for low rank players. So there's real design problems with Vendetta. It's because Jetpack Cat is just a Hail Mary throw in the dark done on purpose because hero bans exist. It's because Mizuki is fine, but I mean, could have cooked for a little longer on the shift gameplay loop, is because Domina is a poke tank with a shitload of burst and nobody wants to play against that, especially the big shield. Nobody wants to play against massive shields. And it's because Emre has 2 grenades that you must throw at the same time for a 20-second cooldown. And it's like, come on. It's not fun to be instantly blown up by 2 grenades, and it's not fun to wait for 20 seconds. And sure, you can buff his gun to the point where he sees play, but at the same point, I don't know. Why don't we just cook for a month or 2 longer, right? Why don't we just cook for a month or 2 longer? It's just more money for them for Overwatch half the time. Yeah, it's tough to have them on a debate when it doesn't feel like they're playing anymore, so it feels like opinions aren't super sharp. I can't believe in complaining about fence sitting as safe opinions, but you got me. Hey man, I didn't half cut my opinions. Like, I'm happy to say, like, I don't think Amran was the one that I missed. Sorry, I forgot Amran because we've got 6 characters, 3 of them aren't able to be played at any point, and I'm sure the quick play players are enjoying having to play with them, as evidenced by the fact that they're banned everywhere. Amran is struggling in general, I think. Do you agree Amran's struggling to find a place? Boga's a reasonable and smart guy, and his ban ideas were good. Ban ideas? I don't know what you're saying. They're saying that the Overwatch system for bans is worse because, no, better because you can't duplicate bans. And from my opinion, that's pretty fucking revealing that Rivals is awful and you need more bans in Rivals because they made it so bad. But you know, so it seems like they're self-snitching there. Actual opinions on gameplay loop, the only person on this podcast who'd probably have an opinion would be Sam. Ban ideas for OWCS when he was on Derpy's stream. Oh, they've been talking about ban idea for OWCS. They're saying that 1 ban and no duplicate bans is bad for the viewership. And I think I agree with that. But however, it seems like the pro scene has selected the way they want to play. And it seems like they want to play without having to adapt too much, quite frankly. They want to play Kiri Lucio because Overwatch 5v5, in my opinion, is at its best when people are playing Kiri Lucio, because that is kind of like the distilled thing. Kiri Lucio Sojourn is the distilled essence of 5v5 angle slop dueling, right? Like that it just is. It allows you to move enough, it allows you more strategy, because, in my opinion, quite a lot of the depth isn't there in the 5v5 format if you do play poke. I don't think that poke has enough depth to really be interesting. Okay, I watched a Veritasium video the other day. Spider, I need your opinion. Okay.
You walk into a room and there's a supercomputer and 2 boxes on the table. One box is open and it's got $1,000 in it. There's no trick.
You need an answer by the end of this.
The other box is a mystery box. You can't see inside. You also know that this supercomputer is very good at predicting people. It has correctly predicted the choices of thousands of people in the exact problem you're about to face. Now, you don't know what that problem is yet, but you do know that it has been correct almost every time. Now, the supercomputer says you can either take both boxes, that is the mystery box and the $1,000, or you can just take the mystery box. So what's in that mystery box? Well, the supercomputer tells you that before you walked into the room, it made a prediction about your choice. If the supercomputer predicted you would just take the mystery box and you'd leave the $1,000 on the table, well, then it put $1 million into the mystery box. But if the supercomputer predicted that you would take both boxes, then it put nothing in the mystery box. The supercomputer made its prediction before you knew about the problem, and it has already set up the boxes. It's not trying to trick you, it's not trying to deprive you of any money.
This feels like you explained the DPS passive and why it was bad. My god, dude, you can't do anything! You can't do anything, Spylo! You have to AFK all the time because you take it. You're baiting me.
Its only goal is to make the correct prediction. So, what do? Do you take both boxes, or do you just take the mystery box?
So I'm just gonna take the second box, right? I need other opinions, right? Can we get some more? Like, he's telling me the answer to the solution. More people, please. More people. Shut up, cat. You're talking about the wrong thing. We're talking about the mystery box right now. I take the supercomputer based. I'm taking whatever the computer predicts. You don't know what the computer predicted. So taking one box will always give you 1k. Taking one box will always give you 1k. Yes. Either that or this problem is stupid. Mystery box. You either take two boxes or you take one box. You're all mystery box people. You're all genuinely mystery box people. Well, I go into that room and I pick both boxes every time and I get 1k because it would have already predicted that I was going to take both boxes, so I get 1k because there's nothing in the other box, but I may as well take it anyway, right? No, I'm not stupid. It's already predicted it. It's already said, but I've entered the room. There is either 1 million in that box or there's not. Either way, I should take both boxes, right? You're literally just a fatalist? What? No, it's already selected what's in that box. I've entered the room, right? But now, I should, however, before I enter that room, attempt to convince myself that I'm going to take one box as hard as I can, right? But I know deep down that I'm going to enter that room and take two, so there's not going to be £1 million in there. Because I'm always going to take two, because if I could convince myself to take one box, I could get $1 million. But I'm not. I'm going to take both. You can literally just pick up the box. You can pick one up. Yeah, but it's going to have 0 in it because I'm going to pick up both boxes. So if I take the mystery box, I'm going to get nothing because I'm going to take both boxes. I asked Rock to select the box for me. Meanwhile, I'm just getting the box and living. Apparently, this splits people almost exactly 50-50, this puzzle. And everyone's convinced they're right. Where were we? If the box is empty, then the robot is stupid. What do you mean? I'm going to take 2 boxes because of course I'm going to take 2 boxes because the robot's predicted my path and I'm going to take 2 boxes. I can't just choose to take one box after it's already decided. The robot knows everything. I get to feel smug about how I'm literally smarter. You can try and convince the robot that you're going to take one box and try and trick the robot, but realistically, if it knows I'm going to take 2 boxes, I may as well take one. This is like the bell curve meme? Yeah, I think so. I'm asking the robot which box I should pick, and if they don't answer, I'm breaking the robot and taking the mystery box. What if you don't take any box? You're welcome to abandon your grand. Yeah. With the high IQ, low IQ making the same decision. But I'm gonna take both anyway. Okay, this is too much. They were yapping at some point, right? We're gonna continue on this. Philo, shut up. Stop distracting me. You love you. Robot literally tells me the solution. I can't. You know what? I don't believe free will exists, so I'm probably not the one to talk to about this. I believe I'm a deterministic robot that does deterministic things based on factors that I could not possibly control nor know where they originated from. Free will is not real? Yeah, I've thought that free will doesn't exist ever since I got this problem first when I was 13 years old in a philosophy book. And I was like, yeah, it sort of makes sense. Yeah. I mean, my thoughts just come out of nowhere. I don't control what I'm gonna think in the next like 5 seconds. I'm just a robot that does the next thing, and that's a cool experience to have. But I mean, I'm a robot, right? I'm just doing the next thing. Oh, am I gonna choose to pick up this? Oh, well, I only picked up this because of the things that happened to me beforehand that made my brain want to pick up this, and therefore the thought came to the surface at the right time in order for me to pick it up. Of course, I'm a free will denier. How could you not be? I have no choice but to be a free will denier. Zenyatta would kick you out of Nepal for saying that rubbish, mate. He's just an advanced algorithm, though. Just like 6v6ers have no choice but to be right-wingers. Okay, did SK actually say that 6v6ers are right-wingers? Did that actually happen? I can't tell, because I saw somebody responding to potentially her saying it, and nobody ever could give me a source of her saying it. And was it just Twitter bait? SK was right at me? No, they're not! My audience isn't even right-wing. SK was saying they're like Republicans or something. It was mostly a meme. Yeah, I assumed it was mostly a meme. It had to be rage bait, right? But Twitter freaked. And by the way, I think it's really funny. Said where Andrew takes supporters. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, aren't we all, right? Can't get the girls. Pretty sure she was memeing. Yeah, gotta be, right? Yeah, actually premium rage bait. And you get all the worst people responding to it as well. That's the best thing. I love that. Yeah, I don't feel like I have a choice but to think something different in the next phrase, right? Like, I've tried meditation and thoughts, I'll be honest, they just come to me. I don't control what thoughts I have. So, like, yeah, sure, putting your will towards doing something increase the chance of it being done, but I don't choose whether I was able to put my will towards the idea of doing something. So it is good to attempt to put your will towards things, because that is a good thing to be able to do. It increases the chance of it happening based on my brain being able to do the things it is. But I don't choose whether I had the willpower to do that in the first place. Couple of steps back. I don't know, brains are weird. Let's go.
Roll queue, open queue. Overwatch default has 5v5 roll queue. What have we actually learned? Like, in your opinion, and I'm going to obviously open this up later to Flats and Boger as well. Like, what have we actually learned about the format discussion now that we've had so many different experimentations across both these games?
Well, what we've learned, and this is going to be a very unpopular take in a lot of people of the Overwatch community's mind, but one guy named Hawk is going to be kicking his feet and giggling right now, because that man was right, and I think Frito was right as well. Everybody's always asking me, like, how Frito's great. I talked to him 2 weeks ago. He's great. He's chilling. I get so many people spam me and ask me.
Just to be clear, we do not hate each other. Is Samito's take.
Frito's chilling. He's good. But open queue with bans is the format, and roll lock has been a total failure, because what I've learned with roll lock, and I was one of the biggest roll lock advocates, and this is one of the biggest issues with, like, one, to everyone saying that 6v6 needs roll queue and roll lock specifically.
I think that open queue cannot exist in a legitimate competitive manner while roll queue exists, because roll queue has the perception of being more competitively valid. And if something has the perception of being more competitively valid, it ends up being more competitively valid because the competitive players go to it. It is all about the perception of legitimacy. If you do not have the perception of legitimacy, it does not matter how good your thing is, it will just fail. Now, you can say that that roll lock is better. Sorry, open queue is better for competitive formats. You can say it's better for ladder formats. 100% won't make a difference unless you can convince a general audience to play that over roll queue. And if roll queue is considered, it's like saying, man, I think, and this is obviously straw man, I think TF2 is much better with random crits for competitive integrity, right? And everyone's like, the fuck you do? We're gonna play it with them off. You're never gonna convince people, and even if you were right about that, even if it wasn't that completely serious, of a example, then it's still gonna happen, right? Because the community has that perception.
You guys are coping so hard. Like, please get in reality. The queue times would not work. They don't. Okay.
Okay, but you've never had any evidence of this, and you haven't been playing open queue to work this out. Okay. Asian servers and very low ranks have problems with tank selection. I will grant that to you. Asian servers and very low rank servers. And in open queue, we have the additional bonus that the tanks are strong, so people will want to play 2 tanks in order to be able to win. That's a very strong extra thing for open queue that they get as a bonus. Even if people don't want to play a role, the proper balance of a team comp will lead people towards that role. But however, from my experience, open queue has had absolutely fine, if not too many tanks in it, right? For the 2 that are allowed. It seems like if I go to open queue and I want to play tank, I struggle to click it fast enough. That's just a feeling. There's a feeling that's replicated with almost everyone that does play open queue, and the only people that's not saying it are specifically the people that just haven't been playing it. I find it all the time on Reddit. Somebody from the Asian servers will be like, "Oh yeah, I got no tanks," and then you will see comment after comment of, "Oh, this is why we went to rogue queue. I don't play that mode." And then, like towards the bottom, there'll be like 7 comments non-upvoted with literally just people saying, "My queue times are fine. I don't know what you're talking about." It's just consistent. Asian servers traditionally like open queue for faster queues when you were in an internet cafe and playing by the minute. I think it's MMR. I think below gold, it is absolutely fine in terms of tanks. Oh yeah, supports are always in 6v6. Do you know why supports are in 6v6 CCAP? Because people actually go to the video game to play the support role and not to play the DPS role, who can also support. That's why they go there. So they play support because 6v6 has a little bit more presence on the map, less flankers on the map, and they're able to generally support. Because people like healing things in front of them. That's something that people have enjoyed all the, like, I'm sorry, but World of Warcraft had a good population of support players, right? A really good population of support players, despite the fact that support had exactly the same problems as tank did in terms of leveling while in the support spec. It still had the support players. So why do we think somehow that the support is not a popular role? It really is. Just people tend to like streamline themselves straight into DPS because there are more DPS characters and there are more to select. Now, I would say if we have more tanks, if the tank quality of gameplay is the same, there is no reason to believe, and we have never had a reason to believe. We have had non-confirmable reasons. I'm not saying this is true, that there would be approximately appropriate queue roles, queue times. Now, the devs always say, well, it doesn't make any difference, right? You can't do anything to the tank queues, it'll always go back. We'll release a tank, it'll go back to the normal levels. Maybe it's going back to these normal levels of tank player base because the experience has not been good. Maybe that's what's happened. Maybe before there was different things making the experience not good, such as the lack of diversity in the tank role, the lack of heroes in the tank role, the lack of diversity in the initiation role, making it so there are bad tank pairings more often in the game because there was only Winston, Ryan, and Bull. Or, in the current day, the tank experience is just actually bad. There are more DPS slots in the raid group, there are more DPS slots in the dungeon group. Agreed, there are more DPS slots in the raid group and a dungeon group, that's true. But really, I think there is a good supply of support over the population. The game is built for there being more DPS. And yeah, the game's built for there being more DPS because people literally have to spend 60 hours in the DPS spec in order to get to high rank in the first place. So the majority of people end up in the DPS spec when they get to high rank. At the high level, in terms of raiding, I would say there's an overabundance of good tank players and good support players for the good raiding guilds. I had always found that it was hard to find a raiding guild as a, and don't get me wrong, this is the same everywhere. You need to be at a certain level, and DPS have more competition, so it pushes up the DPS brackets in order to be able to get into high raiding guilds. So that's very hard to quantify because they're competing against their own role, not competing against the other roles. But yeah, it was a very competitive role to play tank. You had to fight for it. I think I agree. It's just very uncomparable. Is the thing, and we're in a situation where, sure, yeah. I think there's every evidence that supports would be more populated than they are if we could have more support players. And I think that every evidence that people tend to filter themselves out of the DPS category over time into a more complex role, such as off-tank. People love off-tank, people love giving resources to other people on their team, but we can't have that anymore. Now, will they ever make the off-tank category actually interesting? Well, they can't because something format. Because something, everything has to have low utility, high dueling potential, something. They should test rogue queue for 6v6 and sabotage it. Well, the thing is, the trouble is, if it's not seen as the legitimate competitive format, people just won't play it. So if you have rogue queue 5v5 and rogue queue 6v6 at the same time, like, it won't have proportional amounts of people. Now, the rogue queue for 6v6, where's the quote? There it is. I've got it on my desktop. Average queue time for DPS and support stay below 3 minutes the entire time. And that's average, right? The average. I don't know what he means average per day, average per hour, etc., etc. Maybe it peaked much higher, but it seems like it was fine, right? And maybe it was getting worse over time, right? Maybe it was getting worse over time, but the tank player base is the most complicated role, and it takes time for people to onboard into that role from other roles. And this is the first time that people have been able to play support in a game. Like, I don't know. Definitely enjoy 6v6 more, but I play 5v5 mostly because I play DPS and I want an actual rank, and the difference between 5v5 and 6v6 to me just aren't big enough to bother. 100%. The competitive legitimacy is really important to it. Why would you bother? Why would you bother getting a high rank on a game mode where people are going to say, oh, well, you're just GM 6v6, well, fuck you. It doesn't matter. Average queue time in Overwatch 1 was 6 minutes as a comparison. And it probably was trending in that way, right? It probably was trending. But we should expect, if we give a good experience, for there to be a big impulse into the mode, right? Why is that not working? A big impulse into the mode, a fall off, an exponential fall off, and then a slow gain back up to the level of the average experience. That's what we should expect over time. So I'm thinking we got to about here, and this was 3 minutes, and then they cut the mode. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I would expect, given the different impulses into the mode and the things affecting it. Now, people can disagree with that. You're welcome to disagree with that, whether it's going to be an upwards, downwards, and then a slow climb back up to the actual level as people slowly onboard into a complicated role. But I think that makes sense to me.
It's the big reason that we went to 5v5 is that it's very, very hard work. Could they do better than they did? Yes. Okay. But what we've seen with role lock is that design in the game gets taken away from what's fair for each role to trying to design characters around maintaining queue times. And if you look at what's happened with the entirety of Overwatch 2's life, if you're playing 5v5, it is just gone in a circle of balancing for the roles until, like, in my opinion, I think DPS are now the biggest loser, because when the game first came out and we were in the alpha,
Sam's getting further and further behind.
Support players
He's been behind the entire podcast
constantly because they were dying 10 times per 10 minutes. Even the Overwatch pros, like even the pro players, were dying on cooldown. They were dead every second of the game. So what did Blizzard do? They had to buff the support. So
people gravitate towards design first and foremost in games. Gameplay actually follows. Yes, gameplay follows, but if it's bad gameplay, it still hemorrhages people over time. That's the thing.
People wanted to play the role. Okay, then what happened because of that? Hey guys, y'all want to remind me how fun playing tank was for the first 8 seasons of Overwatch 2? How fun that was for you guys? Any words?
Actually, almost like, I almost had to be put in a hospital after some of those games, dude.
It wasn't fun for you guys. So what did they have to do to maintain those queue times, make it fun? They made tanks so strong that a DPS will never win against a tank. It's like if they gave Tracer the ability to hold space like a Reinhardt. Like the tanks, like the suit playing in Super is so boring because when she gets on my backline, there's nothing that I can do. So how they've had to design the roles is, or they're designing things in a way to maintain queue times rather than actually like what's healthy for the game. Because you cannot convince me, I don't care who says it, that having tanks be raid bosses is good for a game. It's just not. And I've been playing a lot of open queue in both rivals.
Yeah, it reduces the quality of gameplay for everyone involved. It's sports, tanks, DPS. It reduces it all. But it's the thing that you do need to do in order to make the format work. And if you are going to be in the format, making them like this is the only thing you can do.
And in 6v6, I would love to see a hybrid, and you guys would know better than me, but I'm pretty sure Rivals came out and said that they did some kind of preferred role queue in the back end of their matchmaker where they look for people.
Clearly doesn't work.
Yeah, apparently it doesn't work that well, but regardless.
Well, if you do preferred role queue and you have the wrong proportions, you're always going to get bad matches. Like, you're just going to get them in proportion to the player base, regardless. Because there are more support players in Rivals because they've been babied and not forced to be, I don't know, interacting with the game in any other way.
Have a hybrid between...
And DPS don't really have agency in Rivals, I'm going to be honest.
Lock.
No, they do tanks.
And roll
Nobody
queue,
does.
where it's not... You're not...
Nobody's going to seek agency if the game doesn't have any agency.
But there's a way that you can actually navigate. And frankly, I'm just going to say this right now. I would rather have a game with triple DPS and even just one tank to where I can actually play make on the enemy team. If they ran to limit 2 tanks, though, I actually do like to limit 2 tanks. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that SVB, but I think that's actually kind of the right way to go for if you're going to do open queue as a format.
I mean, I think we've determined from our gameplay that the AoE healing is at such a level that realistically you don't need to limit 2 tanks, because characters like Ram make it so that one-dimensional gameplay kind of doesn't fucking work. Because if you have a Ram and you have a Zarya and you have some healing behind the Ram's just going to cleave into your entire team, murder you all. Ram will turn off anything trying to brawl into it, and the more things are trying to brawl into it, the more it's going to turn off. So yeah, like we've already turned, like Brigand Spire is 15 HPS, 15. Mizuki full aura is 20. Like Lucio aura is 25 or something like that. I can't remember, but it's really low. It's like 22. 22, I think. But still, like, we fixed the problem. Stop being fucking cowards. If a Junker Queen Axe goes into it, it's going to be fine.
But I would rather have a game riddled with DPS
There's
players.
needless limitations. They solved the problems. The problems are solved. Ram is in the game. Ram will destroy it. The Vortex destroys it. There's so many things that stop you being able to just hard brawl onto people with free tanks. There's so many things that stop you being able to just stand on point with free tanks, right? The gamers have got better at the video game. The angles are better. People struggle to stand in places statically in general. That is a thing. It's just true. It's really hard to do. We have tried it. It doesn't work, really. And yeah, we haven't been able to do free tanks, but we have been able to do pseudo-free tanks. The only way we got it to work was by playing Votes, because Votes isn't a triple tank stand-on-point game. It is that isn't what it does. It is a ult cycling game based off of double shield and floats, based off of Winston Brawl, based off Winston Goats, based off double shield ult cycles with Anna. Like, that's what it's based off. It's not based off just standing on point. You can't do that anymore. You never could do that. It's fine to have free tanks. It's fine. It's fine. And at least then you're not turning off tank players who can't play the role because they're not able to lock it like an open queue.
Where my value on the map is not instantly outweighed because somebody is on tank, and that tank player is not even having more fun either. That's like the worst part. Like,
just need tank and support damage to be scaled down now with global damage passive. We need tank lethality scaled down, not damage scaled down.
The depth and the dance of the tank loop isn't there in 5v5, no matter what you do with roll lock. So
100%.
To me, like, I consider roll lock to be failed at this point, and I was one of the biggest advocates. I got to eat crow on that. I was wrong. Like, I was just wrong. I've really enjoyed 6v6 open queue, and I think even open queue in 5v5 would still make the roll powers be a little bit more even, and they've just never been able to, because I don't think you can. And I think that the doubters and naysayers of roll lock were correct. And before anybody says, oh, I don't want to have the 4
free tanks is value from low skill floor and lower ranks. Pre 6v6 free tanks is how most of open queue was played. See, the trouble is that the 3 tanks can't really sustain, and they do just get blown up by quite a lot of the time. The issue right now with free tanks would be that the free tanks have so many resources in themselves, they don't need regenerating resources to be able to do stuff. But if we did scale the tanks back down to a reasonable level, they would just explode. Value from low skill floor, not value floor, or skill floor, like proper skill floor. Like, you do need to be able to coordinate ultimates in it. If you pull Lucio, Brig, and then one like Moira, and you don't cycle your support ultimates sequentially or when it makes sense, you will just lose quite a lot of the time. We have trouble playing Vendetta Goats in quick play. That's how hard it is, because it actually struggles so much against spam comps and chaos and other things like that. And yeah, sure, we're bad, but it's hard to do because the players in quick play are about our level, because that's we're queuing on our main accounts, and the quick play games are a bit messy, and these comps really struggle against messy.
DPS game or whatever where the game's instantly over. Buddy, when I have the hog one trick on my team and they swap Mauga, that game is over for me now, because I can't kill the Mauga. If my hog's getting gapped as a DPS, you can't make the play because he's just got so much more stats than you do to make it work in 5v5. So I'm off the roll lock train, personally. I think 6v6 open queue has worked fine, but go ahead, Flats.
I feel like you can make that argument though for like DPS too. Like, if you bump into the fucking Sojourn Hitscan server admin, like, well, my DPS are getting gapped. It's GG's. Like, it's game over. Like, as long as their tank is not like stupid as shit. Like, they understand. Like, yep. Yeah. Like, okay. A lot of times you're gonna have to, like, let's say you have the D.Va available. Okay, I'm gonna have to play D.Va. I'm gonna have to get in their face. Well, now they're getting the Mercy Pocket. They're probably got a Curie or someone like also helping them. I get like a 3-second window to kill them. As long as their tank isn't giga feeding in that 3-second window, while I'm trying to do something.
I'm sorry, but I don't understand how the game would be better without roll lock. I've been playing since 2018, and before roll lock, I would never have 2-2 in my ranks, diamond and below. probably played 10 games of goats for the whole 2 years that meta was prevalent. People have egos, and as soon as they see someone not perform on DPS, they would instantly swap, and we end up with like 1 tank, 1 mercy, and 4 DPS every time. So there are a couple of things here, right? Role distribution. The role distribution in terms of the amount of characters in each role has got better over time. So the tank player base should be more regulated to about the 2-2-2 format. Beth's calling me. I'll call her back in a second. I'm going to have to finish. First off that. Second off, triple tank, right? How important is it to run triple tank? How much impetus do we have to run something that people don't want to run just because it's meta? Well, that's entirely dependent on the meta. I mean, if the meta's not triple tank, it's not really a problem. Now, people have egos, and as soon as they see someone not perform DPS, they would instantly swap, and we end up with 1 tank, 1 mercy, 4 DPS every time. Agreed entirely. But realistically, that's not what we see in the majority of games, right? We see people wanting to play at least 2 supports, maybe 3 supports the majority of time. Do you know what 3 supports encourage? They encourage 2 tanks, and that encourages their ability to be able to do stuff. So it's one of those situations where a lot of the stuff about OpenQ has been fixed over time, and 2-2-2 was at once a breaking of the meta and also an enforcement that you would have regulated games where you would have 2 tanks in the games because people consider that more enjoyable for themselves. Now, I think we fixed both of those things and we're in the future, and we don't really need to worry anymore. I may carry this on in future, but I'm going to have to go. The matchmaker can't account for people being different skill levels across roles. You need role-to-role player to play a matchmaking. Yes, that is the other thing for role lock. That is a very good bonus. We're 1 hour and 7 minutes and 3 hour and 24 minutes. I think that's pretty good going. I think some of that is that lower rank genuinely don't want to win though. Yes, and lower ranks have a harder time getting into the tank experience. I would say that tanks should be given a bonus that peters off by the time you get to gold rank in terms of their efficacy of DPS. Right? They should do more damage in very low ranks, and then it should back to the normal levels by the time you hit gold. And that would be an adjustment to just the lower levels that would make it more appealing to lower rank players. Something like that. Some kind of efficacy bonus. Now, that might be awful for you, but I'll be honest, it won't affect anyone that is relevant. It will just affect the tank players at the low rank who don't want to play it because it's considered to be a more awkward or more rush role. Yeah, hour 1717. I will probably respond to the rest of this, but for now I'm done. I think that already happens just by virtue of skill flaws. Yeah, very, very, very possibly. I'm not sure about that idea. Now, we're thinking about ways to get low-rank players to try the tank role and to climb on the tank role. Sam seems like the only one who cares in this podcast. Always. He starts saying his stuff about it. He starts saying it with passion, and the rest of them are like...
Tank matches you to some extent. And it's like Havana or like a sniper map, it's GG for me. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, it doesn't matter what I play. If their Widow is clicking every head, my Widow is not clicking heads, what am I supposed to do? Like, genuinely, their tank knows what they're doing. I'm like, that's it. Like, I can't push past him. He's matching me. And the map just doesn't let me play Winston or something else. I need to go Sigma. I need to go... And D was banned, so I don't have many options either.
Are these 5v5 complaints?
I think...
They're complaining about hero bans and 5v5 at the same time? Are my eyes deceiving me?
It goes both ways, really. Like, there's always a situation where tank doesn't have anything to do, and DPS doesn't have anything to do either.
Yeah, I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but I think those things are different in that, like, I'm talking about if the 1v1 can actually happen. Like, obviously there's denials and things that both roles can do to interact with each other, but say that I
don't think lack of damage is what keeps people away. I was just thinking about an efficacy increase or sustain increase. Obviously, in terms of Reinhardt, you wouldn't want to do that, but quite a lot of the tanks need, like, maybe an enhanced headshot reduction passive to smooth out some of the damage that go into them. Maybe put the headshot reduction to maybe like 50%, then lower that down to 30% where it is now once you get to gold. Maybe something like that. Just to smooth out that damage, make it feel better to play at the low ranks and make it so that you don't blow up unexpectedly.
Angle, and I beat my counterpart on DPS and I get the extra space, right? I win that, but my tank loses the tank fight main. Like, if the last resort is me as a DPS going up against a tank in 5v5 roll lock, I cannot win that if he has pocket and I have pocket. There's no way I can win that. And obviously, like, the Soj and the Widows on their maps are good. I'm not saying that it's like never going to happen or that doesn't happen, but you guys have to acknowledge that, like, as a DPS, you're at a massive, like, disadvantage in that actual matchup. With how many
should you win that if it's a tank with a support and then a DPS with a support? Should you win that?
I think it should. I don't.
Yes, you should win that in the long term. They should win that in the short term.
think that one role should have a massive fundamental.
Like Flats just doesn't understand the game if he doesn't think that. If a support has a harmony orb and a tank has a harmony orb, the support should win the duel. If a tank has an Ana healing and a support has Ana healing, the DPS should win lose the duel. There you go. That's it. Right? There's a difference in the types and intensity of support resources, and that should matter.
Advantage over the other. Like in 6v6 open queue right now, that could go either way, right? Because like the D.Va and Overwatch, say because like
they're too strong. Okay, I'm done. When your tank is dead, it's like 4v7 instead of 4v5 crew. I feel like a lot of tanks can feel bad because their cooldowns are strong but long. Well, the good news is that Spider's been harping on this cooldown thing for ages, and the only reason why I think they haven't done it is not because they don't agree at this point, but because they're ignoring him because they don't care about 6v6. So tank plus support versus DPS plus support in a 2v2, the tank support should win. Flats, right? It's crazy, isn't it? Right? If there's a harmony orb in play, DPS should win. If there's Ana healing in play, the tank should win. That's pretty obvious because the DPS should win out by whittling down the tank's resources over time, and the tank should win by bursting down the DPS's resources in general. Like that's how it should be. The tank should be trading resources for space. What the fuck are we talking about if not that? Like, that's the video game. That's the whole game. I went ahead.